hell was that?
Stock market just opened? Yes, Sunday would be the game. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by PrizePicks. We're here playing games, baby. It's going to be fun tonight. Got some good ones. Cleveland Cavaliers, Brooklyn Nets, Minnesota Timberwolves, LA Clippers. We're going to break it all down for you over the next 55 minutes, then live before lock coming up right after that. I'm Dave Loughran. Joining me, Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. You can hit me up at Lafayette_D. What's good, bro? How you feeling tonight?
Feeling good. I'm excited to talk about basketball that actually matters. I was really tired of just talking, guessing at what teams that want to lose are going to do and blowouts and all that. So very excited for NBA postseason to start. Sad
news today too, man. Gilbert Gottfried. It's like every good comedian from me growing up is dying.
Yeah, Greg. So I found out from Greg on Twitter because apparently Greg had worked with him when he was in college. And so Greg had quote tweeted the tweet saying that Gilbert Gottfried had passed away. But all I saw was Greg quote tweet and start talking about Gilbert Gottfried and then a picture of a smiling Gilbert Gottfried. And so the way Greg's post started, I thought he was just going to tell a story about working with Gilbert Gottfried. And then as I'm reading it, I'm like, this is weird. It starts to sound like he's talking about someone who just died or something. And so then I scroll down and see what the Gilbert Gottfried post said. And it was like, oh, damn.
Crazy. Did it say how he died?
It was a prolonged illness.
So just like Norm.
Yeah.
Because Gilbert kind of hit it.
Yeah.
Man, he just came out with a new book too. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast 3-4 months ago. It sucks, man. Him, Norm, Saget. What's his name from not a comedian, but from The Wire, all within 2021.
Yeah, Michael Williams.
Michael K. Williams. Yeah. Damn. Gilbert Gottfried's Aristocrats joke will go down to history as one of the funniest things ever. So R.I.P.
Gilbert. Seeing, because I didn't know the background of the joke, but two,
the background is no joke.
Seeing the piece on what inspired him to do that and what was going on was amazing.
Yeah. Listening to Jeff Ross break it down and everything. Yeah. It's crazy. He was a risk taker to say the least. Yeah. He did not care what you thought of him. And I love people like that. Anyway, we got two games and I guess out of the gate, let's just talk about how we're going to approach this. Not everyone was able to watch the strategy show today. You and I really dug into that a lot early on because I think that is important. It's hard to believe that you're not going to see all four coaches. And I think a lot from Cleveland as well, because they were already playing huge minutes. But Minnesota's big players such as Cat and a couple of others, probably Anthony Edwards. But it's very tough to believe that you're not going to see all of these, key options on these teams playing 40 upwards of 40 minutes, maybe even for guys like Garland, 46 minutes tonight. It would not shock me.
No, I mean, you should see a ton of playing time from the main pieces. And I think on a couple of teams, the sort of fringe, the other rotation pieces, I think you could see a lot of minutes, but it's a little bit more difficult to gauge. And then on a couple of teams, I think that you can feel a little bit more confident in what they're going to try and do at least. So that'll be an interesting talking point. But yeah, as far as the stars go, you should get tons of minutes here.
And if you look at it like this, right, there's no games on Thursday, but you've got two games on Friday. Okay. Those are the 10 seed, winner against tonight's losers. But the Western Conference game with the Timberwolves and the Clippers, whoever wins that is off until Saturday, and whoever wins between the Cavs and Nets is off until Sunday. I mean, that's clearly an advantage you're looking to get. You're trying to get in and get out of this one with a win. So, yeah. What are you laughing at? Because you clearly weren't listening to what I was saying.
I was laughing at Arcathelza, said he's scared of Garland with Rondo back because Rondo might play 15 minutes. And I assume he's implying Garland would then only play 33.
Dude, Garland's not losing minutes to Rajon Rondo.
If Garland played 33 minutes and Rondo played 15, how quickly does the Cavs coach get fired? Like, he doesn't coach the next game.
No, he's gone. If he makes it out of the stadium. Well, actually, it's in Brooklyn. But listen, the guy's he's playing 40 plus minutes in close games in the regular season. You don't do that to not play him in the post. We don't need to have this conversation. It doesn't matter.
But barring injury, or Rondo like playing a ton of minutes alongside Garland, there's a better chance Rondo plays 0 than 15. Okay, so I'll phrase it differently. There's a better chance Rondo plays 0 than Garland plays 33, barring injury or ejection or something.
I mean, Rondo played a few minutes in some of these games alongside Garland. Maybe he subs in for LeVert, but outside of a few. What? Motherfucker. Better? Yeah. So, like, if I were to ask you, what would you put the odds that Garland plays less than 40 minutes tonight?
Below 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah. Clearly you have to factor in an injury or foul trouble, which is not something he ever gets into. But if this game and blowout, because they're 9-point dogs, but if this game's competitive, he's playing 40 plus minutes. There's just no doubt about it. So let's dive into it there. Perfect segue into this first game. Cavs coming into Brooklyn, 9-point dogs, 226.5 total. Let's just kick it off with Darius Garland today. Because again, if this game's close, Adam, I truly don't know. I'm not saying he plays the entire game, but would I be shocked if he played 46 minutes? No, not at all.
No, me neither. Obviously you have to account for whatever percent chance he like gets in foul trouble or
right. I'm saying barring any stuff that doesn't happen in a normal game, Yeah,
he's going to play close to the entire game. And you mentioned it this morning. We got kind of a blueprint of this 2 games before the regular season ended when Brooklyn played Cleveland. Garland played 41 minutes. Rondo played like 9. Just that I expect something similar here in terms of Garland just playing almost the entire game. He could certainly play more. This game, obviously means a little bit more than that one did, even though that one was important. But yeah, I mean, and Garland still produced, even though his rates take a little bit of a hit with Caris LeVert. He's played 9 games where LeVert has started, like since LeVert joined the starting lineup towards the end of March. Garland still has a 28.5% usage rate and a 36% assist percentage in those games. It's not like it's a bad matchup here against Brooklyn either. I think he looks really good at 9,600.
Yeah, and he has a 38% assist rate in all the minutes he's played next to LeVert this season, even in the games he hasn't started. So, I mean, he definitely takes a hit. We've been talking about that since LeVert came back into the starting lineup, but I'll take the additional minutes on top of that and not really worry too much about it. It's a good spot. I like Garland's a plus money to double today as well. I like that. Over 8.5 assists is -120. That's been 9.5 for weeks now. So it's come down to 8.5. I know last game against Brooklyn that he didn't have many assists, but also didn't convert many of his potential assists. It's just it's a spot that's tough to get away from. Aside from that, though, when you look at Cleveland, how are you breaking the minutes? That Jared Allen's still out, by the way. How are you breaking the minutes down for guys like Mobley, LeVert, who's been playing huge minutes, and Markkanen? And then we'll get to Kevin Love in a second. I think that's an entirely different conversation.
Yeah, so Cleveland's one of the teams that I was alluding to where you could certainly see massive minutes for guys other than Garland, but I do think that there's different ways that the rotation can go. In part just because I don't know exactly I don't know exactly what rotation they want to run. Like you could, for example, just get Cedi Osman not in the rotation. They were doing that not that long ago, but then he seemingly got back into their good graces. He played, in important games down the stretch. So I'm assuming he's going to be in the rotation, but you could, not get him out there and then you're just getting more minutes for like everybody else. But also when you talk about guys like Isaac Okoro, Cedi, Lamar Stevens, LeVert, I think a decent amount of their playing time depends on how they're playing and how the game is going as well. Like Isaac Okoro is good defensively. He's not giving you anything offensively. Chetty can do more for you offensively. Karis LeVert can do more offensively. Lamar Stevens can do more defensively. We saw some important games down the stretch where Lamar Stevens played over Karis LeVert. So, like, I think more often than not, LeVert's in the closing lineup. But if you get the right game flow here, you could get LeVert in there, or you could get Okoro in there, or both of them, or whatever. So I think from a medium projection standpoint, I'm not going quite as high on those guys as I would if, maybe they didn't exist. Like if Stevens didn't exist, then I would be more comfortable giving LeVert like 40 minutes instead of 36 or 37. Same with like Okoro. I think around 28 minutes is what he played in the last game against Brooklyn. That was a game where Cleveland was losing down the stretch. So you got Chetty in there over him at the end. It was Garland, Chetty, LeVert, Markkanen, and Mobley. I would expect you see something similar here if they're losing. Whereas if they're winning, Okoro is in there and gets a few more minutes. So I do think that a lot of the Cleveland rotation beyond Garland and Mobley depends on what the score is here. And so basically it makes, I think Garland looks very good. I think Mobley at 7,300 looks very good. You had mentioned it this morning that in his first game back, which was the Brooklyn game, he played 34 minutes. He lost about a minute and a half to that game not being competitive at the end. So they weren't overly concerned about his playing time. Then in the final game of the season, nobody really played a lot. I would fully expect that you're getting upper 30s from Mobley tonight, barring injury or anything like that. After those two, I just feel less confident in the minutes for like LeVert, Markkanen, Love, Okoro, Chetty, Stevens, because there's just different ways the rotation could go. But it still means that you can go to those guys in tournaments because I just think there's a wider range of outcomes for their minutes.
Are there any guys you just don't like among the starters?
No, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say not like, because, again, like if I give LeVert 36 minutes, he doesn't look great at 6,900. But if you tell me tomorrow that LeVert played 40 minutes or something in like, an 8-point loss from Cleveland, I wouldn't be surprised. And if I give him 40 minutes, he would look fine. Same goes for somebody like Markkanen. I have him in for 34, 35 minutes. But if he's playing well, you could easily get him playing more. So I wouldn't say there's anybody I dislike. I just don't like any of them as much as I like Mobley and Garland.
For sure. And could this game blow out? I see people talking about it in chat. Yeah, but it's also one of those games where even if it is a blowout, it's not like all of the starters don't play the last 20 minutes of the game. It's just
right.
Unless it's a 60, 50-point game, maybe 40-point game. But still, even if it's like 25 points, you see this. Coaches, especially guys like Bickerstaff, with the way he's been doing things lately, I don't see any way that they lose enough minutes to where it's significantly impacting them to where you can't get there. Now, let's talk about Kevin Love. Last game, pretty meaningless game, basically at halftime. At that point, the Milwaukee Bucks sat all of their starters, and Cleveland ran all over them. They were up by 40 at one point early in the second half. But Kevin Love played 15 minutes. He had 55 fantasy points. 32 points, 18 of them came in like the first 6 minutes of the game. He had 32 and 10. He was 8 of 11 for 3, 10 of 16 from the field in 15 minutes. The problem is, can you project him for any more than like 21, 23 minutes tonight? Or do we think we can get up there?
I don't really see how you can project him for more. Like, can he play more? Sure. We've seen that happen occasionally. But down the stretch, even after Jared Allen went down and it seemed likely that you were going to have Kevin Love step up, they started giving Moses Brown more minutes instead of playing Love. I'm not saying that Brown plays tonight. I don't think he's in the rotation. But like my point is that they still didn't go there. He hurts them defensively. And even when you look at the last game they played against Brooklyn, like if you're trying to dream up the scenario where Kevin Love would need to be on the floor, it's one where Cleveland's playing from behind. He still didn't. He played 21 minutes, 2 games ago against Brooklyn. They closed with Chetty. They didn't go with the Markkanen, Mobley, Kevin Love lineup for offense. They went with Chetty out there. So I just don't. I'm not saying he can't play more than 22 or 21 to 23 minutes, but I have a really hard time saying that that's the most likely outcome. I think it's a lot more likely that he ends up in the low 20s here.
Okay. What's his ownership at right now?
And that's really important for guys like Love, and also for
exactly.
I mean, it's important for everybody, but it's really important for guys that have volatile playing time, like Kevin Love, like Okoro, Levert, Markkanen, Stevens, any of these guys, if you're looking at them.
We
Right
have
now, we have
sub
them at
20%.
20%.
Yeah, 19.9%. I mean, that's not bad for a 2-game slate at all.
No, I think looking at the Cleveland ownership right now, the most interesting thing to me is the disparity between Lamar Stevens and Cedi Osman, because like I said before, I'm more confident that Lamar Stevens plays greater than 0 minutes tonight than I am that Osman does. But based on the rotations down the stretch, I do think that Osman got his spot back. And you're getting twice the ownership going to Stevens. Yeah, he's $500 less expensive, but twice the ownership going to Stevens when you could conceivably see Cedi out there for scoring purposes, if they're behind. So I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm confident at all in Cedi. Like I said, I think there's a greater than 0% chance he doesn't even play, but I don't really think he should be getting twice as much ownership going to Lamar Stevens.
I agree. And at this point, if Kevin Love gets hot, and if they're not, because you said it this morning, defensively is where the liability comes into play. But if they're already not able to stop Brooklyn, injecting a great score, because Love is still a very good scorer, into the offense and keeping him out there might be what you need to do. So, yeah, volatile, but pretty interesting. Did you want to hit on Rondo or anybody else here that we haven't talked about?
I mean, Rondo's case would be that for some reason he plays minutes alongside Garland. I don't know why he would, because at least, for more than a couple, because like you just think about the alternatives. Let's say they're playing from behind and they need scoring, which would obviously be the only case you make for Rondo being on the floor is, offensive reasons. You still want the ball in Garland's hands. You would still want Karis LeVert out there, or you would still want Cedi out there instead of Rondo. If they're losing, then what the hell is Rondo on the floor for? Like, that's not helping anything. Or sorry, if they're winning, like they're trying to preserve a lead, that's not doing anything to help. You'd rather have a Okoro out there. You'd rather have Lamar Stevens out there. So I have a really hard time making the case for Rondo playing any significant amount of minutes alongside Garland. And there is no case for Rondo taking minutes from Garland.
So he played 4 minutes, almost 4 minutes alongside him when they faced Brooklyn last week. 4 minutes. That's it. At the end of Garland's rotation in the third quarter, and at the beginning of his rotation in the second quarter. That's it. So, I mean, there's just no. I don't really see the advantage of giving him any more than maybe 3 or 4 minutes alongside Garland when you could just have LeVert out there.
Yeah, exactly. And so it basically comes down to, it's a 2-game slate, and would it be the first time Rajon Rondo paid off $3,900 in like 8 minutes, like in his life?
But no, he's done it plenty of times.
Probably not. But outside of just like a 1% owned prayer, there's nothing there. Like I think that Stevens and Cedi both should be higher owned than Rondo.
I'm not even talking about like tempering expectations for fantasy production, because like you said, he can have one of those crazy games where he has 8 assists in 12 minutes. But I'm saying temper expectations for playing time. It's very difficult, assuming we're right about Bickerstaff and how he intends on running his starters for big minutes. It's hard to see a path to get, 17 minutes in a game like this.
Right.
Even 15.
Right. Like I still think that I think there's a better chance that Rondo does not play, and that you get like Cedi as the backup point guard for 4 minutes or something, than that they do anything like significant with Rondo's minutes. Barring Garland injury.
Yeah. Or he plays like 5 minutes. But I don't know, maybe we end up being wrong here. The thing is, this is the thing though. Like if we're wrong, I don't know if it can be terminal. Like in the sense that if we're wrong and nobody gets hurt, Rondo's not getting to, like, what's the most minutes, even if we're wrong, that he would play?
16.
16. Even that seems high, but yeah.
Well, I mean, that's literally like if they just say for some unknown reason that Cedi like isn't going to play and Rondo's going to take the Cedi minutes, basically.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like that's absolute, like, I think that's like absolute bull case for Rondo, and it would involve Cleveland being batshit crazy.
Yes. How many players do you think we see today in the rotation?
I went 9, but like I'd said before, that's not with a ton of confidence, because it wouldn't be shocking if Rondo's not out there. It wouldn't be shocking if Stevens just plays a bunch of minutes and Okoro plays more and Chetty doesn't play. But based on, the rotations they were running down the stretch, I do like I had to give more than 0 minutes to Rondo, and I had to project Chetty in.
All right. And then outside of Garland, who are your favorite options? If you were to go like 2 and 3 behind Garland.
Mobley, and then Markkanen, but Mobley is pretty far ahead.
Okay. Let's get to Brooklyn on the other. Oh, and we're talking about ownership projections. They are free today for the main slate, not for the showdown, but for the main slate. They're entirely free. We have a lot of free content today. NBA ownership projections, MLB player projections, PGA top golfers tool, NHL top stacks. All of that's free. And if you're looking to get in, dabble with some NBA or MLB season got underway last week. Well, we have a promo that'll get you our MLB weekly express pass for $1 fastball. Awesemo.com/promos, or just use fastball when you sign up. But much easier, just go awesemo.com/promos, click that, and it'll take you where you need to go. It's a pretty awesome deal. It's $1 for the entire week. It'll get you our ownership rankings, our player rankings, the lineup builder, our expert Discord chat with office hours, where you got the pros at Awesemo answering your questions and helping you better your game. So a lot you can get out of that. Promo code fastball. Just go to awesemo.com/promos. We extended it through the 13th. So you got today and tomorrow. I mean, just get in today, but to make that happen, $1 for the MLB Express Weekly Pass, promo code fastball. All right, Brooklyn. Let's get into it. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. We saw KD play some monster minutes in the playoffs last year. Granted, it was that Milwaukee series, but I don't think there are any reservations about his minutes tonight.
No, I don't think so either. He's another one like Garland, where I would set the over-under at like 42, but I would probably – I'm not even that confident in that number. Like, it could be higher. He is going to play close to the entire game. There's no reason that he wouldn't.
It certainly feels
And the same goes for Kyrie.
Yeah, right. Same goes for Kyrie Irving. Ben Simmons is still out. Seth Curry's probable. And Goran Dragic is available for this game. So that's your injury report here. Let's just kind of get into the weeds a little bit with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, because yes, this is essentially the most expensive Durant's been all season. Early in the season, he was like 12-3 or something insane, but this is, if it's not, it's the second highest price tag he's had all year, and it's on a 2-game slate, and a 2-game slate, no less, that has some good players, but he's by far the highest priced guy. The thing is, from an ownership standpoint, and you mentioned how important it is with certain players, like KD is not nearly as volatile as Kevin Love, but he's 21% owned right now. Kyrie Irving's 20% owned. We've both seen the ceilings on these guys.
Yeah, the issue with them, with Durant in particular, is that he's probably going to force you onto some guys you don't feel great about. You know, the Chetty Osman, Lamar Stevens, Patty Mills, Goran Dragic type guys, where you're not really expecting them to do a whole lot. You know, obviously, if you have them and they do, it's great. But it's just that, you know, Durant could conceivably just be the highest scorer on the slate by 10 points or something tonight. And on a 2-game slate, that's going to be really useful. Because like you were saying, you know, if Kevin Durant, like, we're expecting all of the stars to play a lot of minutes, but if Kevin Durant were to just still play like 3 or 4 minutes more than any of the other ones, he's going to project a lot better. So there is still that path to success for him, but he is really expensive. You know, 12K is more expensive even than we saw him down the stretch. So I do like getting to Durant at relatively low ownership. It's just a matter of, you know, how easy is it to do, because in the postseason, you do lose a lot of value.
Oh, shit. I totally forgot to ask for likes at the top of the show. I'm off my game. It's hot in my office, man. It starts to get hot outside. I lose my train of thought. We got over 1,000 people watching, almost 1,100. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Better late than never. We forgive you. Atone for your sins if you've not done so yet. It does help us a ton. So if you want to help support this channel, subscribe. We're 75,500 plus. Love you guys. And we'll get to 200. We got to get to 200 likes right here. I mean, we were at 130. We got to make that happen. So appreciate it in advance. I'm pretty confident that we will get there without issue. Anyway, outside of KD and Irving, how do we want to approach the rest of this team, from Bruce Brown to, because he's getting a ton of ownership, Claxton getting a lot, and that center rotation will always drive you nuts because either they're split down the middle and it's like, all right, both of them are pretty productive, or maybe one of them gets in foul trouble and the other just goes to the moon. I'm always interested in the center rotation for Brook, especially in like basically a playoff game.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes as well. In the last game that they played, you had Drummond basically you had Drummond in the closing lineup. Dragic was out that game, so I don't know, how much that ended up mattering, but they did go Drummond for 23 minutes. They only went Claxton for 16 though. So you still got them combining for, it was like 23 and a half for Drummond. So they still combined for like 40 minutes. And then last game against Indiana, you got what I think is going to be a more typical closing lineup in the postseason, where Durant was out there. You got about 20 minutes for Drummond. You got 23 for Claxton. So they combined for around 43 minutes. I think that you see them combine for around 42 here. I went down the middle and just went 21 apiece, which makes Claxton look better just because he's $2,500 cheaper. Wouldn't be surprising though if it is 24 to 18 or something like that in Drummond's favor. So or 24-20 or something in Claxton's favor. Like, there is some volatility there on those guys. It's just going to be a little bit easier to get to Claxton because he is less expensive. But at the same time, you're getting 43% ownership going to Claxton, only 19% going to Drummond. So there is still plenty of upside if you go to the lower owned guy that completely negatively correlates with Claxton, and you happen to get the good side of that rotation where Drummond plays 5-6 more minutes. That is putting you in a good spot in tournaments.
Yeah. These guys are right. It says MLB picks on this stream, Jordan. That's not good. All right. I was going to say, usually we have a lot more people in here than 1,100. And I think the graphic is also MLB. All right. Well, we're talking basketball for those of you that have been waiting for the last 30 minutes for us to get to baseball. Anyway, the rest of Brooklyn here is just to round this team out. From like, okay, do you think there's a better way to ask it? Trying to collect my thoughts. I got thrown off all fucking night. Patty Mills, Dragic, like, what do you see the back end of the bench? And by back end of the bench, I'm not talking about David Duke and stuff. I'm talking about playoff rotation bench, right? So I won't even say back end, but you know what I mean. How much run do you see them getting tonight?
I think it's partly dependent on how well they play. We did just get news that Dragic's minutes would be monitored. Don't know what that means. He had said previously too that he didn't know how many minutes he would be allowed to play, but to me, I think it's just, it's the playoffs. It's a veteran player coming back from health and safety. I assume as long as he's not like dying on the floor, he's going to be out there playing. So I'm expecting around 20 from Mills, around 24 from Dragic. You could flip those numbers, if Mills actually is making shots or something, but somewhere in that range. You could also, go 22 if you wanted, but something like that. Seth Curry, I think, plays north of 30. He's another one where, like, if he plays poorly and Patty Mills is just knocking down shots, or Dragic is playing well and in shape, they could take minutes there. But I assume also, just based on talent levels, that Curry's going to get the bulk of the minutes, and then you're going to have Dragic and Mills basically just coming in as guys that occasionally have that good random postseason game, but that you certainly can't count on.
Jordan, by the way, the graphic, the thumbnail is cat. Someone said earlier it was baseball, but the thumbnail is Towns. So thank you guys for letting me know that. All right, so we're batting 500. That's all right. Okay, we're fine.
By the way, I'm not even saying Andrew Tegg's question, we haven't gotten a Cleveland starting lineup, but no, there is no chance in hell Moses Brown is starting.
No, I'm not saying it's your fault, Jordan. Just alerting you to that in the event that some people are wondering what the hell is going on. All right, let's. Are you still working on that, or can we do Hall of Fame? 2 seconds. All right.
Hang on, I didn't talk about the best play from Brooklyn yet.
Oh, all right. Sorry, I'm over here trying to sort some stuff out. Go ahead, please do.
Yeah, Bruce Brown at 5,800. He's getting 49% ownership on DraftKings. I don't really see a way around it, just given that on this slate, it's just difficult to find mid-range plays. It's difficult to find, value guys because teams are shortening their rotations. You're playing the starters more minutes. But Bruce Brown, in the games that he's played with Kyrie and Durant this year, has still averaged over a fantasy point per minute. I expect him to play upper 30s tonight. I have a very difficult time seeing who he's losing minutes to potentially, barring foul trouble or anything like that. So he would be the guy. Like, I feel pretty confident Brown is third on this team in minutes played tonight, assuming he plays less than Durant and Kyrie. Never somebody that you're super comfortable with, but also I just can't really find anything to do to make him not look fantastic.
We good, Jordan? All right, let's make it happen. People have been champing at the bit for this, asking us, emailing us, saying, hey, I got in the Hall of Fame. Why aren't you doing it? Well, the last week of the NBA season, last 10 days was just absurd. And we'd run out of time. Even Adam and myself, we do like a 7-game slate trying to do and I try and work Hall of Fame in there. And we just get so much news, not even on Live Before Live. So here it is, Hall of Fame. If you want to get in on this, very simple. All you got to do, it's on the screen. Download the Awesemo profile picture at awesemo.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Awesemo, HOF, on Twitter at Awesemo Hall of Fame, and win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. But included is getting up here, showing the world what you can do, what you've done. Let us brag for you. And even if you already got the free month, you have another win, or you don't qualify and it's something you're stoked about, hit us up anyway. Maybe you'll get up here. To get the free month, though, place top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and we got you. You could enter for a quarter, a nickel. It doesn't matter as long as you're top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Liquor connoisseur, let's get it tonight too. Oh yeah, he's had a couple. 70K 4-point play, second place, 3K. Good stuff, man. And then our boy Alex Baker. How about this? It might be Masters and MLB opening day, but you can't skip the Blue Emu maximum pain relief 200 DFS. I mean, this is clearly just a troll tweet, but it's hilarious. $7,000 for Alex Baker. Congrats to our boy Awesemo himself. Alan Chapman, 10K. Just very simple. Bare bones at Awesemo, a Hall of Fame, 50K Friday shot, first place. We got some good ones today. Grand Central Gambling punched my first ever Q ticket last night. See y'all in Chicago. Also, shout out to our boy Terry McBride for advocating Chris Bassett over Musgrove, 5,000 plus the ticket. That's awesome. 2 more here. What do we got? Justin Tope. I think baseball season's off to a good start. FanDuel MLB single game winner, back-to-back. Oh, shit. 510K. Great stuff. And to wrap this one up, Hayden Brown, 11-leg parlay. Is this Hall of Fame worthy? Yeah, I'd say it is, dude. $2.75 in the 643. Yeah, that's a solid ROI. Congrats to everybody. Get in on it at Awesemo, HOF. Get the avatar at awesemo.com/avatar and let us see those wins. All right, let's keep it moving here. We'll go to our second and final game. Clippers at Minnesota. First things first, Clippers 3-point dogs here, 230.5 total. How many minutes do you think we get from Paul George?
A lot. I mean, he was pretty much playing to his season average down the stretch, getting 34, 35 minutes. I expect him to play 40.
Okay. I had him at 38, but 40 sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, 40 is simply we haven't seen him do it, so I don't want to go higher, but it would just be weird. I mean, to me, when guys play, especially because he's been doing it, consistently, it's not like he just came back. If he's out there playing 34, 35, 36 minutes in games that don't matter, it's weird to me if he can only play 38 tonight. Not saying that like 38 is not a perfectly fine medium projection. It's just like, I
got you.
Still think he plays a ton.
Yeah, and this game, look, 3-point spread. Clippers are not a bad team. Pretty solid. Josh thinks that they were fully healthy, they could win it all. But that's besides the point. With Paul George then, assuming you're giving him around 40 minutes, how does he stack up again? And this is, these are the questions people have, so I'll ask for him. How does he stack up against similarly priced guys like Garland and I'll throw Towns in there too, because they're all like $300-$400 separated.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all pretty similar. I'd give a slight edge to George over Garland just because Minnesota plays at a really fast pace. They're not great defensively either. I mean, you can say what you want about who's going to be defending George, but I'm also just not getting away from Paul George because you tell me he's being defended by a point guard. So, I mean, I think George looks a little bit better. I would give him the edge over Garland. But again, you know, if you're playing one lineup, I would still pay a lot of attention to ownership between the two. And if you're playing multiple lineups, you should just be playing plenty of both guys because even if you do give an edge to George, you know, it's a slight edge in a one game sample. Same goes for Towns. I think I would give Towns a little bit of an edge over George, but again, very, very close. And he is a little bit more expensive as well.
Okay. So Towns over George. Did you say where you'd put Garland?
I had Garland behind George.
Okay, so Garland third.
Yeah, but everything's just very close.
It's super close. Yeah, I'm just saying, if there's a tiebreaker, you got a lot of hand builders that.
Yeah, I would still say for a tiebreaker, just if you can fit any of them, and there's no reason you would have a preference, like, you know, you already have 3 guys from the Cavs and nobody from the Clippers or something, so maybe you would prefer George. Like if everything equal, just play the lower owned guy out of the group.
All right, Brandon Wagner. Iced out with the 13-month badge. Hit that join down below if you want to get the badges, the free super chats each month, the custom emojis. Be part of the team, part of the family, one of the boys. I mean, why not? It's like $2 a month. You don't want to, that's cool too. And we'll always prioritize your questions, comments, along with Discord and all that good stuff. Brandon Wagner, member for 13 months. Thoughts on playing Zubats and Hartenstein together, Adam?
Did you just call him Wagner?
Yeah, it's funny because every time I see, I called him Wagner the first time, but
okay.
Now whenever I see Wagner, you know, I'm just going to pronounce it as the Germans would.
Yeah. I didn't know if you had done it intentionally or if you were just.
It was intentional. The first time I said
Wagner, we're that entrenched in NBA season that Wagner just becomes Wagner now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, especially when 2 of them are on the same team. You know,
right?
Like there's 2 of them. Go ahead.
As far as playing Zubats and Hartenstein together, I wouldn't. I mean, it's a 2-game slate, so like. You kind of can throw rules out the window in a lot of cases, but the reason I'd still be hesitant is like they're not going to play alongside each other. I wouldn't think. And there's also no guarantee that they even play 48 minutes combined. You and I had talked about it a bit this morning. Like I think that if they're going to play 48 minutes in a playoff game, a matchup with Minnesota would make a lot of sense, but like the closing lineup for the Clippers, if they go small, is still really, really good potentially. You know, if you're going with something that has like some, you know, combination of George, Morris, Jackson, Covington, Powell, like that's a really good lineup. I don't know that they would go with it here, but my point being, there's no guarantee you even get 48 minutes from those two. I certainly wouldn't expect them to play alongside each other, and neither one is particularly cheap. So it's just like if I'm going, instead of going Hartenstein, Zubats in that lineup, I would rather just have like Drummond or Claxton or, you know, somebody else in that price range that doesn't negatively correlate with the guy that I have.
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned Drummond and Claxton in chat. Same answer there. The only slight difference is that Claxton is cheaper than Hartenstein and Zubats, but the issue is Drummond's also more expensive. So you're kind of putting yourself in a situation where like Drummond has to double in 20 minutes, and then Claxton still needs to get his 20 to 22. That I think is probably a little bit more doable, but they're both just situations that like I don't love. On a 2-game slate, you know, I wouldn't say I'm dead set against it, but I would still. It certainly wouldn't be my first, second, or third option.
By the way, Zubats plus 340 to double tonight over on DraftKings. Not bad. Guy's doubled in 33% of his games. That's like 22% implied odds at plus 340. He's doubled in 4 straight. Doesn't need a ton of minutes to do it. I'm taking some shots. Anyway.
Yeah, don't mind it because I mean, you could also, like, we're assuming you're going to get a minute split from them. You could just get the Zubats game.
Right. And he could get in foul trouble, but I feel like the way I look at it is what you just said. What's most likely to happen is probably a split, like a 25-23 split. But unless he's in foul trouble, it's not going to be like a 16, 18 or 18-minute game for Zubats. So, you know,
Yeah, the
Like,
only way that happens is if Hartenstein just plays out of his mind and never.
well, yeah, right, right. But that's a risk I'm willing to take because it's not something that's, likely to happen. Jake Lewis with a super chat. Sup, bros? What's up, man? Would you play 5 players from a single team tonight with the small slate FanDuel 150 lineup contest? So an MME contest.
Yeah, kind of the same answer I just gave on the Zubats and Hartenstein question. Certainly wouldn't be my. I don't want to, but I'm not setting a rule against it just because, like, I'm playing 150 lineups. If I happen to have one that somehow gets to 5 guys from a team, that's fine. I probably will set a rule just to, like, in that case, have a player or two from the other team, because there you're basically hoping, like, let's say you have 5 guys from Minnesota. You're basically just hoping that game just scores like 30 or 40 points more than the Cleveland Brooklyn game. Like, maybe the Cleveland Brooklyn game blows out, nobody there really gets there, and then that's kind of how a 5-man team works here. So I think I'd be more inclined to say, like, I need a run back if I'm playing 5 guys from one team. But again, it's just like, if I'm playing one lineup or something, he said in a 150 lineup contest. If you're playing one lineup in a 150 lineup contest,
I think that's what he's saying.
Right. I wouldn't be playing 5 from one team. Like, you can make a very good lineup that doesn't do that. Across my 150, I wouldn't be surprised if I have it once in a while.
All right. Let's talk about the rest of the Clippers then. So Paul George, we broke that down we covered that pretty well. Zubats, Hartenstein, you talked about both of them on the super chat. So let's get into Reggie Jackson and Morris here, and then we can talk about Powell. Just kind of try to speculate on what his playing time is going to look like tonight.
Yeah, so I mean, Jackson, I'm very interested in. He's 6,600. He's someone else that I'm expecting to play a ton of minutes here. He's averaged around 0.9 DraftKings points per minute, or 0.8 to 0.9 DraftKings points per minute in the games he's played with George this year. And I don't really know what Minnesota is going to do personnel-wise defensively. We talked about it this morning. I think you probably see a mix of Beverly on Jackson and on George. I think that, like, it would be, I'd be surprised if he's just like on George the entire game. But if they did do that, then you're just getting Reggie Jackson in more favorable situations as well. But overall, and this is something we talked about all season long, I care a lot more about a team defensively. And Minnesota plays at a fast pace. They don't play particularly well defensively. They're better than they have been in the past, but they're still not very good. So it still just sets up as a really good spot for Jackson, and I can be really confident in his minutes. After that, it becomes really tough to have a lot of confidence in minutes because, like, Marcus Morris could play a lot here. I expect him to be defending Cat quite a bit. If he's having success there, maybe he picks up some more minutes. But similarly, like, Batum can play, Covington can play. You're probably just going to kind of see all 3 of those guys in that role, and none of them are super cheap. Morris is 5,500, Batum is 43, Covington is 53. Any of those guys can get there at those prices, but on average, I think they're kind of priced where they should be. And then Norman Powell's like the really big question mark because he played 22 minutes in his first game back. Then they said that his minutes restriction was going to be increased. They still only played him 22 minutes though. So I don't really know what that means. I don't know if it means that was all that they were comfortable playing him. I don't know if it means that they felt no need to play him more because they know that his conditioning is good and he's about to just come out here and play a bunch of minutes. I don't really know. But at 5,400, it's really tough to get there. He should be low owned today, and it's a 2-game slate, and he's really good. Like, if he plays 28 to 30 minutes, I'd be interested, but I just can't confidently say he's playing that many minutes either.
I can't either. A lot of people in chat, Adam, saying Norman Powell's going to be the guy tonight.
If I had to point to one guy that's going to be difficult to get into lineups, and that you look back at the slate and just say, like, yeah, I was way off on my minutes projection on that guy, I think Powell's probably my first guess at who it is.
Way off in terms of projected him too low.
Right. Like, I project him for 26 and he plays 34. Like, because the reason that I'm so hesitant here is if you tell me Norman Powell is in game shape and good to go, he should, and this is assuming he comes off the bench, but he should basically be playing that rotation where, like, he plays, a long bench rotation in the first half, and then he just plays like the last 16 minutes of the game or something. It's just a matter of, what's his conditioning like. And based on the 2 games that we got, even if I project him for more minutes than he played in those 2 games, I can't reasonably say like, oh yeah, 32 or 34 minutes is the median outcome.
Can't do it. I mean, 28's not an unrealistic projection.
No, I think coming in at the 26 to 28 range is reasonable because it's kind of giving you both sides where, yeah, maybe he just like it wouldn't be shocking if he only played 22 minutes again. Like if that's where he's at conditioning wise, the Clippers do still have guys like Morris, Batum, Covington that can take minutes. But at the same time, if I kind of had made the point this morning when, with that 22-minute game last game, there's a non-zero chance that they've seen him in workouts and practice and everything, and they're just like, yeah, this dude's good. There's no reason to, play him 28 minutes in a meaningless game when we know he can just go out there and play 32 in the playoffs. So like if you go 26 to 28, you're kind of covering both of those bases.
Yeah, he's also only played 5 games with the Clippers, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't really think that matters. I will say this much. So a lot of times these guys come back from a long hiatus and they just really struggle to shoot. He's been dialed in, at least as a shooter, in the 2 games that he's played since returning, like dialed in.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do want to comment on, because the Atlantean said Kennard minutes going to Powell. I think looking at it that way is a mistake, because if Norman Powell is conditioned and can play big minutes, he was playing big minutes with or without Luke Kennard. And if he's not conditioned, he's not playing big minutes without Kennard. So like, I'm not saying that Powell can't play bigger minutes than I'm expecting tonight, but I don't think Luke Kennard has anything to do with it.
Okay.
Like Luke Kennard makes it so you can increase minutes projections for guys like Mann, Covington, Batum. I don't think he really has an impact on Powell because Powell's getting as much run as he can with or without Kennard.
So I don't know if you've noticed this, but the official NBA injury report still has Kennard questionable.
That's weird.
And I looked at it earlier, right? And then I was like, maybe I'm missing something. So I went back and looked again right now because I've seen him ruled out. The sites have him ruled out, Twitter. But if you look at the official injury report, I'm assuming you're pulling it up right now.
Yeah, but he's still questionable as of 5:30.
And that's on the official NBA injury report.
Yeah, I'm looking on Twitter trying to find like an actual source, not just.
Maybe our boy News God can figure it out for us. But I'm just saying, just see what's. Oh, okay. Wait, Adam said he didn't make the trip to. Well, wait, when was the trip to Minnesota? He was questionable today. All right. If he didn't make the trip to Minnesota, how was he questionable today? Was he going to travel there on his own, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, Tyronn Lue said guard Luke Kennard didn't travel to Minnesota for the playing game.
Okay. Look, I'm just giving you the information I have, right?
Here's an actual. Okay, Clippers writer for the LA Times. Luke Kennard didn't make the trip to Minnesota. He's still rehabbing his hamstring.
Okay. It's just so weird. Usually you don't get that on the official reports. It's just a mess up then.
Yeah.
Kevin, best center after Towns is what? And this is the super chat. And who is the best value player? Thank you for the super chats, Kevin. Appreciate that. I was going to get to the one earlier. Okay, so best center after Towns is who? That's a tough question.
Yeah, I mean, there's several guys that look similar. Like if we're talking just centers, so not like Evan Mobley at center. I think ignoring ownership, it's probably Claxton just because he's only 4K and value is really hard to come by. In terms of tournaments, I think any of Drummond, Hartenstein, Zubats, because there is just so much volatility and they're all really, really good point per minute guys. And their median projections just don't do their upside justice. So like you're getting Drummond at 19% on DraftKings. You're getting Zubats at 23. You're getting Hartenstein at 12. So if you're just talking like tournament flyers, I like those guys. If you're talking, you don't care about the ownership, you're already contrarian somewhere else, or you're playing cash or whatever, then I think it's Claxton.
All right. Anything else for the Clippers?
No.
Okay. And yes, chat, I know he was ruled out hours ago. I saw that. That's why I was saying that NBA official injury report was saying he wasn't. So must be a typo.
Yeah.
Or
wouldn't be the first time that a beat reporter was wrong.
Correct. And usually you would defer to the official report. That's just the way you do it. But in this case, it definitely appears as though that is wrong. Anyway, hey, shout out to PrizePicks. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, use the promo code Awesemo, for $100 first match deposit bonus over there at PrizePicks.com or the App Store, Google Play Store, wherever you want to play it. There's no sharks there, no optimizers or mass entries. You just build 5-player lineups or 2, 3, 4, however you want to do it. And you can net up to 10x your entry fee. In doing so, you can also hit 4 of 5 and get 2x back. Hit 3 of 5, unlike your standard parlay, and still make money back on that. You can do cross-sport entries. You don't have to do all of them for one sport. Like tonight, you could do baseball, basketball, and whatever else is going on. And you can use the free PrizePicks NBA prop tool to help you make the best selections over at Awesemo.com. It's always free. Here's the best part, though. Not only do you get a $100 first match deposit bonus, not only do you have free tools at Awesemo, but you get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up using the link in the description of this video, and you make a deposit at PrizePicks. $90 value on that. Everything we have, every sport, every tool on the site, free for the entire month when you sign up using that link in the description and the one Jordan's going to throw in the chat and depositing at PrizePicks. You'll get an email from us in like 24 to 48 hours to redeem your free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, PrizePicks.com, or download it in the App Store or the Google Play Store. Sponsor of the Deeper Dive. All right. So we don't have a ton of time, but I think we can get through this one pretty quickly. So I just want to get this out of the way first. Jared Vanderbilt, best legit punt of the slate, yes or yes?
Yeah.
I was very you were not confident in that.
I was answering, somebody asked why Amir Coffey's not in the player pool. He is. He's 5K on DraftKings. He's just not likely to be in the rotation.
Yeah. But anyway, Vanderbilt in terms of like sub 4K players, there's not a better option right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And from a minute standpoint, like you were saying, what do you have him at?
I think like 28.
Yeah, 27, 28. Could play.
I mean,
30.
I haven't done Minnesota yet, but I'll have him around 28.
Played 30 plus in 2 of his last 3, not including that game where he didn't play in the second half. Fantastic play. Someone asked earlier, they were asking you, but I just answered for you because I knew what your answer would be. Would you set a group to keep Vanderbilt and Towns out of the same lineup? There's no point. One of them's not, exclusively the backup. It's Naz Reid, and Vanderbilt's just super cheap anyway. So unless you had a different answer, I can't imagine you do.
Yeah, no, I mean, they don't
hurt
affect each other. Yeah.
No. And plus Vanderbilt's just super cheap, so it doesn't matter. But Karl Anthony Towns, you talked about, you like him among the, non Kyrie and KD guys, particularly on DraftKings. You said you have very thin margins, but Towns is your favorite amongst those 3. Like if you had to build one lineup, right? And you could only pick between Garland, George, and Towns, would it be Towns?
Yeah. Putting ownership aside at least. And right now ownership's very similar too. Like Towns is at 34, George is at 32, Garland's at 28. But yeah, assuming it's something like that, I do have Towns slightly ahead of them. How
do you want to approach the rest of this? This is where I think it gets a little bit, I won't say more complicated, but more interesting at least. Beverly, Russell, whose minutes have kind of been weird. And then guys like Edwards, who's priced up, but has that insane ceiling to just pop off on any given night.
Yeah. So beyond Towns and Vanderbilt, like Edwards, I think is overpriced from a median salary standpoint, but still certainly has a massive ceiling. He always does. He's capable of just going out there and scoring at will, when his shot's falling, but clearly just a tournament play and a relatively low probability one given the salary. Russell at 7K, I think is pretty interesting because he's someone where like for a lot of the regular season, you were getting him playing, 30, 31, 32 minutes. In the postseason, there's no reason to think he's not playing more minutes. And his salary really hasn't come up that much. So I think you see at least a few more minutes from Russell. Beverly is really interesting because I expect him to be on the floor for as many minutes as he can avoid fouling out of the game. They just need him out there defensively, and there's nobody really behind him that they should really care about, taking his minutes. So at 5,200, if you got low to mid 30s from Beverly, you're looking at a really good play. Similarly, if he fouls out in 22 minutes, you're in trouble. But I do think he looks good. As far as taking some shots at the bench, there's nothing that stands out that I'm super confident in, but I do think this is another team kind of like Cleveland where rolling the dice on some of these bench guys makes some sense just because you do have 2 very foul-prone guys in the starting lineup in Vanderbilt and Beverly. And you do have some cheap very good point per minute guys off the bench. Jalen Noel may or may not be in the rotation, but he's $3,400 at 4% owned. If he's in the rotation, as a bench scorer, that is nice. If he's not in the rotation, then obviously you're not winning with that lineup. But it's just, a situation where somebody mentioned it earlier, like, how do you not just get a 10,000 way chop for first? Using guys like that sparingly, not having your whole night hinge on them, but using guys like that is one way to do it. Similarly, like if Vanderbilt gets in foul trouble, you're getting more Jaden McDaniels at 3,700. Reed is the backup to Towns. Shouldn't be going crazy with him. Projects to play whatever 48 minus Towns minutes is, which is like 8 to 10. But if Towns were to, for whatever reason, play fewer minutes, Reed's getting more. So I would certainly set a group on those guys, but still a very good point per minute guy. So there are some interesting tournament options off the bench for Minnesota, just nothing that you should be very confident in. Jordan McLaughlin in that conversation as well.
And I just want to throw this out there, get your take on it. People are saying Vanderbilt hasn't been good in a while and that he's a trap and maybe he ends up not playing well. But can you just explain like context of a 2-game slate when you have a value guy like this? You don't need like you don't need a Sundays type game from someone to even cash like a 40 point from a minimum salary guy.
Right. The issue is just look at who is around Jared Vanderbilt and think about how many minutes guys are likely to play. Naz Reid's $100 more, 8 to 10 minutes. Nick Claxton is $100 more, 20 minutes, 20-ish minutes. So like on average, probably 6 to 8 less than Vanderbilt. Rajon Rondo, $100 more, 8 minutes. Jaden McDaniels, $200.
By the way,
less.
That's not to say Claxton's not a good play. Just
Just that he's probably playing like 6 to 8 minutes less than Vanderbilt.
Right.
McDaniels, clearly playing a lot less, barring foul trouble. Chetty playing less. Like now, a bunch of guys that aren't even in the rotation. Okoro is fine, but not as good a point per minute guy. It's just that there's not a lot of value on this slate. And so Vanderbilt just really stands out as the best one. That being said, he is still volatile. Like he does still foul. I do think he's the best value, but there is a difference when, and I mentioned this morning, when you really just need one guy to fail for like the entire slate to go to shit, there is some merit to just building lineups that kind of avoid that price range,
sure,
or that do just take shots on really risky guys. Like if you had 3 or 4 guys that were really similar to Vanderbilt, I wouldn't even be bothering to mention the guys like Noel, McLaughlin, McDaniels, because it would just be like, well, all 4 of those guys aren't going to fail. But you could just get the Jared Vanderbilt fouls out in 18 minutes game, and it's just like, if you play anybody else, you're good.
Yeah, of course. Right. I'm just saying, I was just explaining like why he's as popular tonight as he is. There's just nobody else around.
Right. I think he deserves the ownership. So I'm not trying to like tell people not to play.
No, you're talking tournament strategy and for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying in tournaments not to play him. Like I'm sure I'm going to have plenty of it.
No, but what could get you to the top of a tournament if Vanderbilt ends up fouling out is what I mean. Or just, not getting the minutes. Anyway, it's impressive that you and I can go over on a 2-game slate, but these guys got an after show. They're probably thanking me anyway. In all seriousness, we got to go, but we'll just hit this real quick, Adam, because we had a super chat. Thank you, Deacon to the legend. Is Robert Covington a decent differentiation play on FanDuel?
Not my favorite. I mean, there's a lot of volatility in the minutes, but I think that there's probably like on FanDuel, Vanderbilt's cheaper. Markkanen's not that much more. Morris is cheaper. Batum is cheaper. Like I think there's just enough different guys you can get to. Not to say like if you're playing 150 lineups, not to play any Covington, but wouldn't be my first choice.
All right. Hey, appreciate you guys. Let's have some fun tonight in the playoffs. And one more request. Only asked once today. We're at 350 likes. We got 1,700 people watching. It's a stretch. Can we get to 500 by the time the Live Before Lock show starts? If you're sitting there, you're not doing anything. If you haven't done so yet, take that one brief second, hit that thumbs up, show some love, and we'll see you back here tomorrow running this back once again. Stick around. Live Before Lock coming up right now. Don't go anywhere. Peace.
Robert as we get into the finally. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock show presented by PrizePicks. I'm Eric Lindquist, excited to be talking this play-in game, this play-in tournament, if you will. 2-gamer ahead of us here today. Let's go Timberwolves, of course. Smash that like button. We got to get those likes way up. I don't know what is going on here. Sorry, I know Jordan Klein, Clippers fan, but you know, whatever. We've been in disagreement lately over the last couple of weeks. Nothing should shock me there, but we got my buddy Greg here in the house. Yeah, Jordan, I'm looking at you. But Greg, he's in the house at Ehrenberg on DFS, at Ehrenberg DFS on Twitter. That's what I was trying to get at. Go follow him there. He's one of the good ones in the MLB streets, in the MMA streets as well, and today the NBA streets, which we frequent the most together. How you doing, my dude?
What is your level of confidence in the Minnesota Timberwolves today? So for people who didn't pick up on what Eric just said, Eric is a Minnesota Timberwolves fan. Jordan is a Los Angeles Clippers fan, which I feel like there should be some sort of stakes here, considering that there's the rivalry between you two. I do want to know from each of you what your level of confidence is in your team winning today.
Not high for me, even though we're 3-point favorites, which is just, I don't understand it. Paul George is the best player on the floor. Karl Anthony Towns, welcome to the playoffs, sort of, I suppose. It's just, I don't feel good about it. How do you feel, Jordan?
Clippers are definitely going to win this one. No question about it.
Oh, well, okay, there you go. So I'm not confident. You are. There it is. Well, no Jordan, question about it. I think there's like a 45 to 55% chance about it that they don't.
Paul George goes off. That's it. End of story.
Wow. All right, so we can end the show. Play Paul George is what we've learned from Jordan Klein. Just dropping his knowledge and getting out. Greg, what are you looking forward to tonight?
Watching basketball without too much rooting interest on an individual team for my Celtics futures. I feel like it would be advantageous for the Nets to lose tonight, but I don't expect that to be the case. They are, I think, a little bit inflated as a 9-point favorite, but there's no Jared Allen for the Cavaliers. We've got Seth Curry coming back for the Nets. So it's hard to not expect the Nets to win this game outright, but my one rooting interest, if I had to pick one, would be the Cleveland Cavaliers, but I have zero expectation of that happening at all. Other than that, I want there to be some sort of battle to the death between you and Jordan about which of your teams are going to win today.
Battle to the death.
Battle to the death.
Okay. Oh, Jordan Klein. Well, I got him a Masters polo, so maybe I'll just rescind it and give it to somebody else. How does that sound? We could do that. Okay.
Do you have any other friends that wear an XXXL? I know I don't fit in it.
It'll make a nice blanket. All right, let's get to this is Jordan Klein. It's crazy. His Spider-Man days, I tell you, you got to show some respect. Yeah. He's absolutely crushing the streets.
Yeah, that shirt could work as a tent or a condom for Francis Ngannou. It doesn't have too much other utility.
We have some super chats to get caught up on. Jake Lewis, $5. Sup, bros? What's up? Would you play 5 players from a single team tonight with a small slate? FD 150 lineup contest. Guess what? On FanDuel, you can't. So
yeah,
don't have to think about it. 4 would be the max, and yes, I would play 4.
For me, I didn't set any kind of rules in Fantasy Cruncher about his ran lineups. I didn't get to any on DK with 5 in any individual team. So the answer to me is no, but mostly because it's not like there's one team where an absurd amount of value comes from. Because think about where value comes from in a lot of the regular season for NBA DFS. It's from players getting scratched, players getting ruled out. We're in a playoff atmosphere now. The guys are playing, other than, Jared Allen for the Cavs, but he's been out for a long time. So it's not like it's some new injury. So with that in mind, it's not like there's one team I look at. It's like, this is the team I need to roster. So I don't think there's one team that's, just like the predominant target over the others.
Jordan Klein, I love you so much. I just want to throw that out there. It's important that you know that. Oh, nice pink fingernails. All right. Lofty has to get to my year-long, much love, Awesemo. Has to get to my year-long. I'm not sure what that means, but I love it. I love the badge on you. So appreciate you. Rosso Music, highest projected player for you fellas. 2-part question. So here you go. Highest projected player out of these guys: Terrence Mann, Claxton, Curry, and then Vanderbilt, Osman, McDaniels. So you're looking for your highest projected player on DraftKings: Mann, Claxton, Curry, Vanderbilt, Osman, McDaniels.
All right. So this is let me scroll up because I know this is a tiers question because he's been asking us these lately, but did Jordan send this to us in Slack? It's easier if I just look at all the names in front of me.
He sent it to just me. So I'm going to tell you this one first. We'll break it down this way. Man, Claxton, Curry, who's your favorite of that three?
So I'm pulling up the tiers in DraftKings right now. That'll make it easier to look at.
Perfect.
And then I could really look at all the names. So this is tier 5 or tier. I don't even know which tier this is actually. All right, I'm pretty sure that's Seth Curry was one of those names, right?
No. Yeah, it was. Sorry, Terrence Mann, Claxton, Curry.
All right, that is pretty clearly Seth Curry for me.
And then Vanderbilt, Osman, McDaniels. It is Vanderbilt by a country mile for me.
Yeah, it is Vanderbilt who starts, plays a pretty significant role for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and has been playing this role for a while now. He's somebody we could count on to play, at a minimum mid-20s minutes if he's playing well and avoids foul trouble, upwards of 30 minutes, whereas some of those other guys have sketchier roles. So Vanderbilt.
All right. Another one. We got Jeff Williams, $1.99. Appreciate all of you guys. That was Rosso Music and Jake Lewis. Wanted to throw it out there. We appreciate you guys for the $5 super chats. Jeff Williams with $2. If Curry is out, who does that benefit most?
He's not out. He was confirmed.
I was going to say, I just was reading the super chat because I wanted to there. Another one. Ben Anthony, $4.99. Eric, you were looking stunning today. Bootylicious if I must. Cringe.
I'm curious what camera angle he's looking at.
I don't think you're ready for this jelly. Making Greg look like a real bad value play. Kind of like Isaac Okoro. Just kidding, boys. Oh, he's lovely. You're lovely. I appreciate you. Again, the blue shirt game. It just is strong with this one. Michael McKinney, $2 for absolute must-plays FanDuel cash. All right, first of all, 2-game slate, play-in tournament cash. Oh, boy. But, Greg, who are the 4 must-plays for you?
All right, so must plays in FanDuel cash. Let me pull up the most recent run of ownership and then also at the build that I have right now. By the way, ownership projections free over at Awesemo.com. Always a useful tool in building cash game lineups because at the very least, I think you do want to always make sure that you're exposed to the most popular plays. And LeVert, I think, has to be one of them. Reggie Jackson, another. Same for Paul George because you just priced incorrectly. Then I'm going to say Kevin Durant. Those are going to be the 4 for me. KD, Paul George, Reggie Jackson, Karis LeVert. KD is the spend-up option I like the most today.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm with you. I think Karl Anthony Towns on DraftKings. FanDuel, I'm definitely going to as much Kevin Durant as I can humanly possibly play. I'm just fine with that. He is 60% for me. Actually, it's about the exact same amount that I have on Karl Anthony Towns there. So we will continue. We will get into this here position by position like we always do. I think we're caught up on all the super chats now. That's great. Once again, hit that like button, subscribe button if you are just joining us. If you just found us here on the YouTubes, welcome. Glad to have you. The water's warm here. Guard, top end, looking at Kyrie Irving. 9-point favorites here for the Brooklyn Nets. Pretty dangerous team. And I think Kyrie Irving, he'd been playing big minutes on the road. Now he's been playing these home games. This is a great spot for him, of course. 40 plus minutes in his last infinity games, it feels like here. He's going to play over 40, barring a massive blowout whatsoever here. How much Kyrie Irving are you getting to on DraftKings and FanDuel?
Let's see. So Kyrie Irving, to me, where am I at? Not that much, particularly on DraftKings. FanDuel's different just because he is at 10-2, but also with the point guard and shooting guard eligibility, and pricing is just so much softer on FanDuel in general. DK, where I think we have to be a little bit more price sensitive, it's a little harder for me to get to him, at least in the builds that I made, when he's 10-7. And once again, just less salary flexibility there. So to me on DraftKings, I just don't think he's all that strong of an option. There's other guys that I much prefer to get to. And one of them being Kevin Durant on his own team, who I think is probably more likely to dominate the usage. And it's not that, it's not that, trying to think of the right word. There's a strong negative correlation between Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant because they're both so scoring dependent. And I think realistically, it's much more likely that Durant is the go-to guy for the Nets in this situation than Kyrie is, particularly how well Durant played during the final stretch of the season. The other thing also with Kyrie's price, I think it's inflated based on all of those big games he had when he was a part-time player. And I think the Nets operated differently during those times because you got basically every other game Kyrie played. And I think it was really easy to say, hey, Kyrie's playing today. He's not going to play for another 4 days or whatever. Let's build our offense around him. Let's play him a couple extra minutes and really let him carry the load and kind of take somewhat of a day off for guys like Kevin Durant or other role players. And now I just think he's too expensive, particularly on DraftKings. He's a little too expensive for me on FanDuel as well. It just matters less because of how soft the pricing is.
Yeah, when you have Reggie Jackson sub 6K, Patrick Beverly sub 6K on FanDuel, you play those guys at point guard, you're able to play a lot of Kyrie at shooting guard. It's just kind of the way that my lineups are panning out, as well as Darius Garland, who has multi-positional eligibility, which that's kind of the next guy I wanted to ask you about. I think on DraftKings, Darius Garland, 30.6%. I want more than that. I feel like if the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be competitive, it's going to be Darius Garland, 40 plus points. I'm with you. I think Kevin Durant is the spend up that I want to prioritize in terms of this game. But Darius Garland, a close second. How about you?
So let's see. Also, a lot of this is going to be different, FanDuel versus DraftKings. So are you talking more DK or FanDuel?
I'm talking about both because Darius Garland, 9,600 there. I'm finding myself landing on quite a bit of him. You compare it to Paul George. I think there's 44 minute upside here for Darius Garland. Just kind of feels that way. Paul George, what is the absolute tippy top of his minutes right now? I don't know 44. What it is. Say that again.
I think he could play almost the entire game.
You think Paul George could play 44 minutes here? 45.
He played 34 last game in a blowout and in a game that didn't really matter.
Yeah. I'm guessing over 40. Over 40 would actually surprise me with Paul George, just because, you have 2 games at it and you have the opportunity to have Paul George be healthy again. And, your 3-point dogs here. I don't know. I feel like there's enough bench players they can rotate through to maybe take 5-6 minutes more away from like where you would get up to 40, 42. That's interesting. I didn't really think about the blowout aspect of that 34 minutes. It's just been a while since we've seen him play 40. I just feel like Darius Garland, I'm able to get to a little bit more. We've seen the over 40 minutes quite a few times this season. I haven't projected right at 40 minutes here today. So does Awesemo, 39.5. That is. I feel good about Darius Garland on DraftKings and FanDuel. Definitely feel great about the shooting guard eligibility.
Yeah. So first of all, I like Garland and Paul George both a lot, especially on DraftKings, where it is a little hard to find the salary to get all the way up to the top tier guys as comfortably. But I do lean towards Paul George just because on the season, he is a better fantasy producer than Darius Garland on a per minute basis. And I don't think that we have to be too concerned about any kind of minutes restrictions. Like I said, the last game that he was active for, the Clippers beat the Kings by 20 points. Paul George played 34 minutes, and that game meant nothing to them. There was zero implications for that game other than to get Paul George minutes and conditioning. That's really what I think the goal was for the Clippers in that game. Considering he played 34, I would be stunned, unless this game's a blowout. I would be stunned if Paul George plays 34 minutes or less. I just think he has to go up from there. And it's also at a point in the season where, how concerned are you about tomorrow's games? I think the teams are playing to win now. And another thing to consider also with Paul George and the time he had off, it was an elbow injury. We're not looking at a groin injury. It's not a knee injury. It's nothing like that. It's an elbow injury. So there's no reason to think that would be a reason that they would have to limit him now.
Okay. I like all those points. I don't mind it. Again, I would be surprised if he played 40 plus, because even going back to a couple of these games we had looked back at from the playoffs last year, I'm just scrolling through Fantasy Cruncher and looking towards the tail end of last year. He was playing low 40s minutes here. So it's definitely in the range of outcomes, but I was feeling more on the 36 to 38 side of things, which when you look at Garland 42, 44, I feel a little bit more confident going to more of him for 300 less, but you do have shooting guard eligibility over on DraftKings for 1 Paul George, whereas on FanDuel, you get the shooting guard positionality for both of them there. I'm fine to be firing it up. We've got 2 super chats here. OGKRGEE. I just am spelling stuff now so that I don't ever get in trouble. It's a great idea. What are the core must plays for DKGPP?
All right. So, I mean, there's different ways to look at this in terms of what we're talking about, who are the chalk plays, who are under-owned. But I think that we should, I guess the best value plays to me, number one is Jared Vanderbilt. I think he's pretty clearly the best points per dollar option on DraftKings. He's also going to be very popular, projected around 40% ownership. I think that's reasonable, though, considering this slate and just the kind of lack of cheap plays that we have to get to. Nick Claxton also projects out really well. I'm kind of sketchy about his minutes, though. I do not know what to expect there. And I also think there's a chance that LaMarcus Aldridge passes him in the rotation today. But he does grade out being pretty good on just a points per dollar basis. Other guys, let's see. What is Seth Curry in terms of projected ownership right now? He is at 16% ownership. Oh, that's on FanDuel 16, on DK 44. Either way, I feel good about Seth Curry's minutes, assuming he starts. I don't think they're going to be too cautious with him. I think that he was probably ready to play a little while ago. The Nets just didn't need him to. Assuming he plays full minutes, he's really cheap. I think that he's somebody worth getting to. Should get a ton of open looks with the gravity of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Who are your favorite contrarian options, though, overall in this slate? Because I just threw out a lot of kind of more popular plays.
I have the most disgusting play in the entire world, but it's a 2-game slate. And if you're trying to find ways to get different, one of my favorite things I do on 2-game slates is I look at the bottom end at minutes, and Patty Mills has been really, really bad in terms of fantasy production. I'm not necessarily looking at him at 3,400, but there's a number of lineups that I'm getting to with Jordan McLaughlin on DraftKings. So he's been playing the backup point guard role for this team. You have Patrick Beverley. You have pretty much the entire Minnesota team here back. But if I'm trying to get different, to go really stars and scrubs, to be able to get to 2, maybe 3 of these studs on the top end pretty comfortably, you have to make some massive concessions. And I think 3,100 Jordan McLaughlin, he's right now around 6% rostered over on DK. It's a 2-game slate. I don't want to be getting to somebody like Mills, who I think can end up a little bit more popular because he fills 2 positions. Because you have Malik Beasley there, 4,500. I really don't want to be taking that shot necessarily as much. He's projected around 18 and a half minutes. I think if you have any issue with Patrick Beverley or D'Angelo Russell, there's a path to Jordan McLaughlin. So I have some groups made where in the event that I don't have D'Angelo Russell in some of those lineups, I'm boosting Jordan McLaughlin because I think there's a path. He's kind of been the steady Eddie, the guy that they've been relying on a little bit more than Jalen Noel coming down the stretch. Noel's the better fantasy point producer, but I just don't really see a path for him to get on the floor in this spot to do much of anything in this game. So I think McLaughlin's a guy that you want to talk my super deep dart, it's at the guard spot.
So I could see that with McLaughlin. I'm trying to find somebody who I actually like that's cheap and isn't picking up that much ownership. He is on FanDuel, but this is a DraftKings specific question. I think Nick Batum could play extended minutes today. He's 4,300 and only project for 15% ownership. Obviously, the range of what's popular, not popular, we have to change the barometer a little bit relative to a 2-game slate. So, he's relatively contrarian at 15% projected ownership. We've seen bigger minutes from Batum and at times this year, which I think there's a chance that continues. Another one that I'm interested by, Norman Powell. I think he could play extended minutes for the same reasons that I said before. I think that we could see extended minutes out of Paul George. So Norman Powell in the final games that he played this season, he only played 23 minutes in the game against Phoenix, 22 minutes in the game against Sacramento. But this is now a playoff situation. I think there's a chance we start to see upwards of 30 minutes from Norman Powell. So he's somebody else that I think is worth taking a flyer on. But I don't have any McLaughlin plays like you where I feel good about somebody who's like sub 10% owned. I mean, there's only of guys that are actually sub 10% owned that I think are actually likely to be in rotations. There's only like 7 of them.
Yeah, I don't feel good about it. But again, he's 3,100 where you could get 10 or 12 out of him. And if you get the right studs and they just go completely nuts, you just have a completely different roster construction. So these are the things I think about on 2-game slates where you try to find paths to what could go wrong. And I think you have Russell or Patrick Beverley get in foul trouble. You get Patrick Beverley ejected. That's a non-zero chance of something happening there. McLaughlin's a guy that I just think can play you some utility spots for them, can handle the ball, and you'd have Beverley or Russell play off the ball in that kind of an event. So it just seems to be a guy that's been playing more minutes as the true backup at the point guard spot. So I don't feel good about it, but I'm much more likely to click on a guy who's just cheaper than all the other punts. than following in line and just having a very chalky lineup with like Lamar Stevens or, a zeroed out lineup where I'm going to get to a ton of Nicholas Claxton on FanDuel?
Yeah. So, I guess I just have to assume Claxton plays the backup center minutes. I've been so confused by the LaMarcus Aldridge situation because I keep thinking that eventually Aldridge is going to be into the mix, and he just hasn't played all that significant of a role for the Nets at all since coming back from injury. He was a DNP coach's decision in a bunch of games. 2 games in a row he wasn't in the rotation. Game before they played 6 minutes. The game before he played 17. I can't actually project him to play minutes. I just have this bad feeling in the back of my head that there's a 40% on Nick Claxton, who we see Drummond picks up like 2 early fouls and LaMarcus Aldridge checks in. Yeah, I wouldn't play Aldridge. It's just something that's worrying me today.
So you're predicting it without investing in it.
No, I'm not predicting it either. I'm just scared of something.
Okay, it's kind of it would be the apocalypse. It would be very bad for me too.
It's like when you're a kid and you're afraid of a monster under the bed. I never projected there to be a monster under there, but it always frightened me at night. LaMarcus Aldridge is that monster for today.
All right, we'll catch up on some super chats, get to the middle of guard here. We've got 32 minutes, plenty of time. We're going to be going 15 minutes after talking our sponsor PrizePicks, so don't you guys worry. Plus, I want to get this in now. $1 for the MLB Express Weekly Pass. 2 more days. It's been extended 2 more days. This has been a fantastic promotion. It's been great for everybody to join the MLB streets. I got back from Augusta, Georgia on Sunday. Got right back into it with Greg, talking some baseball here this week. Looking forward to doing it this season. I'm telling you right now, the best tools we have on our site, this is just my personal opinion, are in the baseball streets. I think it's the softest competition and the softest sport that still remains in DFS. And if you want the best tools in the industry for just $1 to check it out for a week, use promo code FASTBALL. Take advantage of it now. Even a donkey like me can just show up on Sunday and, almost bank a tournament because we have the best tools, the top stack tool, the top pitcher tool, the projections, everything, all the content on YouTube, everything that we have going for the baseball product is top notch. I promise you. Use promo code FASTBALL and find out for yourself. 2 more days remaining for that promotion. All right, we've got Ben P, $1.99. When do you unblock people for joking? Hubert, better than Coach K. I don't know. When you take a 1-year sample size and compare it to a 40-year and multiple national championships, probably going to be a little while. So thank you so much for the super chat. Rat 14, $5. DK single entry, 4K lower at utility. Just play a Coro ? Leaving 500 on the table. I have Vanderbilt. So he's already got the value du jour, if you will, the unavoidable piece of chalk, in my opinion, a sub 4K Jared Vanderbilt on DraftKings. Is he just talking about playing a Coro? Because I'm not recommending 3,100 when you have a lineup that would leave 1,200 on the table. I'm playing Jordan McLaughlin in like lineups that are going to have 100 or 200 on the table maximum, where I just think there's a path he could beat everybody else below it, and he gives me access to some of the studs. Who's your favorite sub 4K play on the slate that is not Jared Vanderbilt?
I can't call any of them my favorite. I could call them the least worst. And it's kind of in between Okoro and Chetty Osman, just guys that are not great fantasy producers that are going to play some minutes and are cheap today. And we just need cheap guys. So it is kind of Okoro by default. You could also choose Chetty there. None of them are options I would consider my favorite. But officially, if he needs one guy, I'm going to say Isaac Okoro.
Oliver Klossoff, $1.99. I almost said it bad. He does.
He leaves us a super chat every day now. That's a good one though. I like
that one. But I picked it up. That's a really good one. But I'm glad that I did the correct pronunciation of the name as opposed to the name that would. How many minutes for Powell today with no Kennard?
Wide range of outcomes. I think that if you're actually projecting the minutes, number one is at a minimum, you have to give him 22 because that's what he's played in each of the last 2 games since he's come back from the foot injury. He's played 23 and 22. I think it's irresponsible to go and project him for like 28 or 30 or anything like that. There's a range here. I think the reasonable projection is 24 for Powell with the upside to play more, which is what I think makes him an appealing GPP play. But if you ask me how many minutes do I think it's most likely he plays, I peg the number 24.
Okay, perfect. We've got my filler arc, $9.99. Batum rhymes with doom, which is what will happen when we pick him today. Absolutely, it will. Vanderbilt or McDaniels fell as Vanderbilt by a mile, or just jump to Lamar Stevens.
Vanderbilt.
Not for me. Vanderbilt. This is the late 1800s. This is the railroads and Jared Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is the name of the day. Please play well, my dude. Cheyenne DeWald, $2. How safe is the Dodger game weather-wise? Coming in with the MLB super chats. I love it.
I took it out. I took it out of my player pool.
Okay, yeah. I wish I could watch that game tonight. Twins Dodgers, was looking forward to it, but alas, no. Madison T, $2. Last man in 4K under on any position on FanDuel large field. You talked about Batum. Anybody else for Madison T?
All right. So
sub 4K
at any position. That's a little confusing. All right.
Shark Killer G, you can't have her. That's all I'm going to say.
Under 4K and position does not matter at all. Yep, Batum for me. They're not good options.
I'm going to do some Zero Down McLaughlin over there too. It's just it's not something that I feel fantastic about, but again, I want to find some paths to get different. He's 3,900. I like him more than Noel, and Patty Mills is just dead to me. I don't know what else to say. This will be the day he goes for 25 though, and punishes me.
It can't be. It would be if we get the playing game starts the same way the regular season starts, where it's just Patty Mills goes out and go. Wait, what did he shoot from three that day? Like 7 of 7 or 6 of 6 or something egregious.
It was
and
horrendous.
Then went on to suck every other time I watched him this year, with the exception of one time where I used him as a pivot off of Seth Curry. But yeah, Patty Mills was a disaster to roster this year and was a disaster to fade on opening night. But I mean, Patty Mills, I just can't imagine he plays that big of a role, considering how poorly he played down the stretch of the season, and the fact that Kyrie Irving's healthy right now, and Goran Dragic is back, and Seth Curry's back. I can't imagine he's going to be the one who kills me. I'm going to throw that out into the universe. Do your worst, Patty Mills. Make your shots. Don't do it.
Just don't do it today. Just go run cardio, and here we go. Rest of the guard position. We talked about the studs. Let's go to the mid-range. I already talked about Mike Cheapy McLaughlin. More time than it deserved. Goran Dragic, I don't even really think we can click on that name here today, which is sad. 4,200 on DK. No for me. But Karis LeVert, Reggie Jackson, Patrick Beverly, and D'Angelo Russell. Tournaments are going to be won and lost in this mid-range. Can you rank your favorite players on DraftKings and FanDuel ranging between 5K and 7K?
Like all of them?
But I'm just saying, rank the guys. So, I mean, we got Reggie Jackson, Patrick Beverly, a lot of them from this Clippers and Minnesota game in terms of guards, and then Karis LeVert being added. So the entire late night hammer of guards and Karis LeVert. Who are your favorite plays to get to in this mid-range?
Reggie Jackson, Kevin Love, Bruce Brown.
Guard.
What's that?
Just a guard. We're finishing guard. I guess you can talk about Kevin Love because I'm excited to get there.
All right. So still Karis LeVert, still Reggie Jackson. Let me think. Is there anybody else? Norman Powell's a contrarian option. Patrick Beverly, I think, is a little bit unavoidable at his price point, considering the kind of fantasy production he's given. I mean, I don't want to list everybody, but I just did. Those are all the guys.
Thank you so much.
Those are all. So I'll actually rank them now. Number 1, Reggie Jackson. 2, Beverly. 3, LeVert. 4, D'Angelo Russell. 5, Powell.
Yeah, it's Powell's the one I'm the most uncomfortable about, but I could definitely see more minutes because of no Kennard.
I ranked him last.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I'm with you. I think we had the exact same rankings. I'm just finishing the thought on Powell because he was the last name you said, and he's the most uncomfortable guy to be rostering today. I mean, he's just projecting out so poorly, but 6,200 on FanDuel, I don't think we really need to do it. On DK, we'll get to Bruce Brown here to round out the position. I kind of saved him. And Bruce Brown, he's my highest owned player on the entire slate. And that makes me feel horrible over on DraftKings. But I think it's just kind of a result of what we have. And we're seeing massive minutes. I think, he's not going to see the exact same usage of late that he's had alongside Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant when it comes down to a 1-game sample here at the end. But I find him to be unavoidable piece, upper 30s minutes projected. How much of him are you getting to today?
That was which
Bruce Brown.
Name? Bruce Brown. Mm-hmm. Let's see. So Bruce Brown, Just given the context of the slate, he's kind of hard to avoid entirely. But his minutes have been jerked around so much this year. And I get that he's a really big part of whatever is left of the Nets defense. But at the same time, he's 5,800 on DraftKings and the most popular play on the slate right now. I don't know if you saw the most recent ownership projections, but Bruce Brown projected for 50% ownership at 5,800, the single most popular play on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, he's 6,800 and still projected for 37% ownership. This seems steep to me, really steep, because it's not even that if you're playing cash games, you're playing Bruce Brown today, but I don't know that a $6,800 Bruce Brown on DK warrants the same exposure as a $7,200 D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell is $400 more expensive than Bruce Brown on FanDuel with eligibility at more positions, and they have the same ownership. It just feels a little off to me.
I get it. I get the apprehension. It's just with the shooting guard, small forward eligibility, that's generally your best opportunity, or small forward, power forward here is what we've got for him now. It's just something where he's going to fit into a lot of lineups. Forward, you get Kevin Durant at the same spot. Jared Vanderbilt's going to show up in a lot of lineups of power forward as well. But we'll get to the forward spot here in 22 minutes here to go. We'll talk about PrizePicks here quickly as we transition between the positions. But I find him to be pretty unavoidable. 5,800 on DraftKings. I'm going to get to a lot. I get the apprehension. It feels very, very steep for a one-game sample, but I think I'll take my risks and try to get very different elsewhere. Over on FanDuel, I'm with you. I think that seems pretty ridiculous that he's going to be that popular at that number. So I'm probably going to be siding more with you over there. Anything else from guard that you really want to talk about?
No, just the other thing is people in chat are saying he's 5,800. No, on FanDuel, he's absolutely 6,800 with shooting guard eligibility.
We were going between the two sides.
Yeah. Yep. But either way, Bruce Brown, once again, I think he's a good points per dollar play, but he is very expensive. Like what do you think is the appropriate price for Bruce Brown?
On FanDuel?
Just in general, like what do we think the fair salary is for Bruce Brown? I don't think it's 6,800. I don't think it's 5,800.
Here's the thing. I think it's about the fair price at 5,800 right now in his current role. I mean, mid 30s minutes pretty much every night, 40 and 38 the last two. Now, those were without Goran Dragic, so that's
without Seth Curry.
And without Seth Curry, but I mean, everybody's a little bit too expensive today relative on DraftKings. It's Jared Vanderbilt, who I find it very hard to get away from at 3,900 because of just the opportunity he has here. They're still getting McDaniels up to speed again. It's just going to be a while until we see anything different there. So I find it to be an unavoidable piece of chalk as well. Once again, it's going to be a lot about roster construction. It's a 2-game slate. If you want to get different and fade one of them, have fun, you're going to win all the money, because I'm just going to play a lot of Bruce Brown and figure out how to get different elsewhere.
It's also just kind of funny how things change. Do you remember on opening night, Bruce Brown was the single most popular play on the slate? Just because people are saying that Bruce Brown never fails when he's popular. Bruce Brown was the single most rostered player on the opening slate of the season. Do you remember his? Do you remember how that game went?
Yeah, he played 0 minutes.
No, he had played 0 minutes until garbage time. Then he checked in at the end and he scored like 3 fantasy points in garbage time. But the idea that Bruce Brown has never failed as a chalk play, not quite accurate. Obviously, his role is way different now. I just don't feel that he's going to continue to play the 38 minutes he's played in recent games now that Seth Curry and Goran Dragic are both back.
Yeah, opening night, it was against Milwaukee, 4 minutes, and then he played off the bench 27, 30, and then he was just starting going forward there for a while. So there we go. Bruce Brown, real fun slate that we have ahead of us. But what is fun is PrizePicks. I know everybody. It is down. I was just doing some looking up to try to figure out if there was any kind of change there. They just posted something where it sounds like it's going to be unavailable to make deposits, withdrawals, or entries today. Again, that happens from time to time with sites, but when you do play over there, I promise you will enjoy it. I've really enjoyed my time playing over on PrizePicks. Here's why. It's not like a sports book. Obviously, I live in California. I can play PrizePicks here. I can't bet at a sports book. So PrizePicks is where I get all of my prop action. There are no lines that are set in terms of -110, -130, -180. Everything is up for grabs. It is simply a prop number that's thrown out there. You take the over, the under, and you win money. You have to play a minimum of 2 props. You can play up to 5. And with those 5-player props, you can 10x your entry fee, but also if you get 4 or 5 right on it at a traditional sports book, you're out of luck. But here on PrizePicks, you still 2x your money going 4 for 5. And if you go 3 for 5, you still get almost half of your money back. That's going to really help out in the long run if you're identifying plays, if you're able to react to news quickly. Same thing as playing over at a sportsbook in that regard. So go download the app in the App Store, Google Play, or check out prizepicks.com. It's such a fun site. I promise you'll have a lot of fun. It's unfortunate that it's not up here for tonight because I think we would have a lot of fun talking through it. Plus, there's a free PrizePicks NBA prop tool to check out. So many great opportunities, plus a free month when you do go over and sign up over there. So just kind of keep that in mind as we're talking about NBA the next few days. If you go deposit and play over there, you'll have a chance. Well, you will get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum with that deposit. So check out PrizePicks. Thank you so much to them for their sponsorship of the Live Before Lock show. Let's jump over to forward, my friend. Obviously, we covered Bruce Brown. Let's talk about the unavoidable piece that is Jared Vanderbilt. Sounds like you and I are both just playing him at will. Why is he such a good play for you today?
There are very few players that are cheap that we could actually count on to get minutes, and he's one of them. It's not any more complicated than that. He might go out and play 22 minutes and score like 16 fantasy points and land in the optimal lineup because every cheap play sucks on DraftKings today, and he's going to play minutes, and I don't feel the same about other guys. So somebody in chat tagged us just before in Discord chat and asked, is Taurean Prince going to be in the rotation today? For starters, I'm not sure. Second of all, he's listed as questionable. Still, these are the types of guys people are considering today because of how poor the options are on the low end. Like people are asking us about Isaac Okoro today. When is the last time we've rostered Isaac Okoro? Never. But he's in play today just because there are no cheap options. So that's really all there is to it. He's cheap. He's going to play a bunch of minutes. Nobody else in that price range is.
Sounds like PrizePicks is up on the desktop. So if you guys want to check it out on a desktop here right now, you have an opportunity. If you guys are making lineups on your laptop there, yeah, I just logged in. So this is great. And they have the Kevin Durant, it's Taco Tuesday. So you have the opportunity to go play some reduced props. Kevin Durant, 42.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. Feels like a freebie. You can bet up to $20 on that one. I'm looking forward to doing that as well. So check out the desktop. That is fantastic that it's pulled up there. Just the app that it looks like is down. They had tweeted something out about that. I had gotten a notification. So there we go. PrizePicks, head to prizepicks.com, sign up today, get that free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. We'll be having 15 minutes that we're going to allot at the very end of this show when we get to lock here for the main slate. Then we'll be talking PrizePicks and talking about our favorite plays over there because it's usually 10 minutes after lock because when the NBA game starts, it's usually right around that time frame. So we'll still be able to get some plays in there. Let's talk about Anthony Edwards because he feels kind of like a forgotten guy to me on this slate when we have Kevin Durant, Paul George on FanDuel, 43 and 50%. Anthony Edwards could go out and be a flamethrower any given game. He played 18 minutes against Chicago. Don't read into anything that happened towards that end of the season, the last game or two for these teams that didn't matter. He was just doing a dress rehearsal. We saw it in 39 minutes, him put up 69. That's the kind of stuff that can happen from time to time. He's 26% owned on FanDuel, so a lot of reduced rostership going his direction. Is he a guy you find yourself rostering on DraftKings and FanDuel today?
To me, I think there's so many clear guard options than forward options today. I kind of find outside of Jared Vanderbilt, like Vanderbilt is by far the best value play on this slate. I don't know that there's another forward at all that I get behind and just be like, oh, this is a guy I really want to play. Well, like Paul George, I guess is a little bit different. Karis LeVert also has forward eligibility, but in terms of guys we haven't talked about yet, there are really not that many guys, especially with power forward eligibility, that I feel particularly good about outside of Vanderbilt.
That's fair. And Vanderbilt, 26% on FanDuel. Hard to really, I really like that number. I think I have to get to lots of him. Other than the top end guys that we had talked about already, we've got Lauri Markkanen, 5,900 on the FanDuel slate, 36% owned. Looking over on the DraftKings slate, pretty comparable. He's 32% owned over there at 5,900, identical number. Marcus Morris, 5,500. That is probably the one I'm most uncomfortable fading, but I'm just not going that direction very much. I strongly prefer Markkanen between the two. Who sticks out to you in this mid-range of forward?
Pretty interchangeable to me. I don't think there's a massive difference between Markkanen or Morris. I think Kevin Love is the most upside. He also has the most downside. He's the highest variance play, but at least for tournament purposes, I think that's kind of something to take advantage of and somebody we should be rolling with. it's a playoff scenario. Kevin Love, as much as his minutes did fluctuate a lot this year, he was really good for the Cavaliers when he stepped on the court. He's projected for 19% ownership on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's projected for 25% ownership. I think both of those numbers are a little bit too low, just based on what his ceiling is. Could he go out and play 20 minutes and suck? Sure. It wouldn't be the first time I've played Kevin Love that happened. But the other thing too is just look at the other guys that are priced around him, particularly on FanDuel, where power forward is just not great once you get past the top options. We've got Kevin Durant, we've got Evan Mobley, and I think Mobley's a little bit expensive for me. Durant's just totally in a tier of his own. But the other forward options, then when you get in the mid-range, it's Markkanen, Hartenstein, Kevin Love, Robert Covington, Marcus Morris. Of those guys, I do think Love has the most upside, and he's not really picking up an ownership that reflects that. So that's the guy that I like the most for tournaments as of now, and kind of with limited confidence.
Cheapies. We talked about Batum. We talked about Vanderbilt. Who are some of the cheap guys that you were rolling the dice on at forward?
Let's see. Outside of Vanderbilt, Batum qualifies. I don't even think you could find a Jordan McLaughlin type play at the forward position though.
Don't have it. Lamar Stevens is 3,200, and I'm not going to play a guy that's gaining 17% owned. Like there's a legitimate, I don't even want to begin to tango with that.
I guess you can make a case for Cedi Osman lineups just because he's going to be in the rotation, but that's not something I want to actually put my hard-earned money on. If you have a couple lineups out of a bunch that have Cedi Osman, okay, but realistically, it's just Vanderbilt.
Kessler Edwards, people are talking about 3,500 for him. He played 39 minutes in a game that didn't matter, so don't go there. 24 minutes, kind of what we've seen him get to in a couple of these games. I'm just worried that the rotation can tighten up pretty quickly. That's why it's so hard to get down to these bottom guys. That's why, a guy like McLaughlin, I know he's going to be on the floor. I know he's at least going to be in the rotation and play those backup point guard minutes. And so it's just kind of relying on that a little bit more. So Isaac Okoro, never been a fantastic fantasy point per minute producer, but if you're going to give me 30 minutes of a guy or nearly 30 minutes of a guy who can get some stock upside, I'm okay rolling the dice there a little bit, but it's a 2-game slate. You're going to have some of these guys fall into your lineups, and it's fine. Just no clear-cut priority, or not even remotely anything close to a priority at forward at the bottom end, right? Other than Vanderbilt.
Just Vanderbilt.
All right, guys, let's keep it rolling. Corey Randall, $5 super chat. Man, you guys are the best. So many super chats on a 2-game NBA slate. Pretty tough to beat. We appreciate you. Before we get to center, $5. How many minutes do you think Cedi Osman gets today as he is is he a worthy flyer? Talked about him a little bit there, but can you tell me how many minutes you have him projected for?
I think it's reasonable to expect high teens from Cedi Osman. He's not a great fantasy producer, so it's not like I have him projected exceedingly well, but it's more so that there are just not other options in this price range outside of Jared Vanderbilt. But yeah, I'd say somewhere around 18 to 22 minutes is a reasonable expectation.
All righty. To center we go. But first, if you haven't checked out our premium betting picks subscription, now is the time. You click on the link below in the YouTube description, right down there, to check out the Betting Picks Discord channel. We have Alex Awesemo Baker. We have Ben Raza. We've got Steve DeColtz Buzzard. Everybody, the top head honchos here at Awesemo are going to be giving you their best bets every single day, curated directly for you from the experts. We got premium bet Discord. Of course, that's what we're talking about. A downloadable ROI tracker, which is pretty darn cool. Plus, all of those bet picks can be sent to your phone directly. So check that out. It's NBA, NHL. They're going to more and more MLB bets, including, I believe I saw this come in here from our friend Rinpack. So let me find this. Eric Lauer, the over of 4.5 strikeouts on the DK Sportsbook via Alex Baker. That is exactly what we're looking at. 4.5 strikeouts. That is the go-to bet of the day. If you sign up at Awesemo Bets over on Twitter and turn on notifications, they will be posting those one free bet every single day. That's at Awesemo Bets. Go follow that. And if you missed that, Eric Lauer over 4.5 strikeouts today. San Diego's finest. We're going to see Camden Yards play a little bit different this season here in Baltimore. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to some baseball all season long. Looking forward to more picks coming from our experts to take advantage of. All right, 9 minutes to go before we get to the prize picks section of the program. we're talking center here, and there's no other center you want to talk about first other than Karl Anthony Towns. He's 10-3 over on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you're going to basically have him versus the likes of the only other true centers that you really want to get to, Zubats and Drummond. How much Karl Anthony Towns are you rostering today?
Yeah, so I think he's really, really difficult to get away from on FanDuel just because, like you said, he's the 9,700 price tag that is up from where it was at the end of the regular season. Remember, we had those slates where it was like 8,200, 8,400, if I'm remembering correctly. I'll just pull up his game logs here. But yeah, so the last games of the regular season, he was 85, 87, 83, and 8,900. So they have priced him up for this game. It's not quite enough. But at the same time, there aren't other centers to play here, which makes him just a priority by far at the center position. If you want to go cheap, you could go with Nick Claxton as well on FanDuel over DraftKings purposes. Kind of the same thing. It's Nick Claxton, it's Karl Anthony Towns, and kind of everybody else for me, even though I'm maybe a little bit uncertain on the amount of playing time that Nick Claxton gets. He's been in the rotation as of late. He's playing the backup center minutes. I have to expect that's going to be the case today. And they're just, once again, the same point we've been saying before when it comes to guys like Jared Vanderbilt. There are not that many cheap guys that we have expected to be in the rotation. So Claxton does stand out as one of the better value plays on the slate. And there's a pretty big gap in between the top center plays for me once you go Towns, Claxton, and then everybody else.
Well, yeah, Justin Alperto, $2. I was saving this for this program or for this section. He said he has a bad feeling about Claxton to be a DNP. I think you can put those fears to rest. I'm pretty sure he's going to see the floor. How about you, Greg?
No, we talked about it before. I mean, I think he's like 95% likely to see the court.
All right. And then in the event that he doesn't want to play them, he asked Mills or Chetty. Who would be your priority between the two?
Play Claxton. Chetty, if it has to be one or the other, but play Claxton.
Yeah. Teddy Waitman, thoughts on Markkanen playing on FanDuel? We talked about him a little bit earlier there. Anything else for you to talk about from Markkanen?
Not really. I think he's currently projected like with the exact same amount of ownership that I have in my build to him. He's projected for 36% ownership on DraftKings, 32 on FanDuel. Like those are almost the exact numbers I got to in my crunches.
All right. Let's talk Andre Drummond because we know he can be a phenomenal fantasy point per minute producer. And he's sub 13%, 12.9% over on the FanDuel slate. On DraftKings, where you can roster two, there's a little bit more utility. You talk about all the uncomfortable feelings you have around, or a lot of people have about Claxton, about the possibility of the nightmare scenario that is LaMarcus Aldridge being inserted in a play-in game scenario to the rotation, which would just destroy my lineups. That would be an unfun day. But what are you doing with Andre Drummond on this slate?
Yeah, so he's a little pricey on FanDuel, but the upside is pretty clearly there. And he, like you said, the ownership is there to an extent on DraftKings. 13% on FanDuel, I think, is a little bit low for him at 7,100. His minutes also go all over the place, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for tournaments. And he could score so many fantasy points so quickly. And the other thing, too, is you consider the matchup against the team that generally plays bigger in the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I think we could see upper 20 minutes from Andre Drummond. So as far as tournament options go, once again, I strongly prefer Claxton and Towns, but I do think Drummond's going a little bit overlooked and does warrant more ownership than what he's currently projected for.
Oh, thoughts on Hartenstein. Now we're talking Zubats or Hartenstein. Pick one on DraftKings where they're $100 apart.
I have Hartenstein projected higher. So that is going to be my answer.
I'm with you. And the ownership is reversed. And I love Zubats. He's my boy. But Hartenstein's also become my boy this entire season. We've seen both of them kind of just split the center minutes down the middle. They share the floor for like 2 minutes that I saw earlier this season. Not enough to be significant there. You probably don't want them together. But, I mean, they both have smashed in their time on the floor. I guess it's not a rule you should be completely against. I suppose I'm against it because they're not exactly like 4K and 5,700 anymore. It's two guys in the mid fives that just make it tougher to get to in the same lineup. But I'm with you. Hartenstein's the guy I have higher projected too.
Yeah, it's been that way for the last, month now that Hartenstein's been the better fantasy producer of the two. So when you also factor in that he has less ownership, I prefer Hartenstein. And I mean, like I said, as is, I've projected better anyway.
Last thing, Naz Reid, he's 3,500 on FanDuel. Any shares for you?
No.
Okay, there you go. That was the question we had from Orion, $1.99. It's not silly. I have him in one of 150, if that makes it feel any better. But that's one. We're going for one.
We do have a question that I wanted to address from Fingers in our Discord channel because it's a Rajon Rondo question. He's asking us Morris and Reggie Jackson or D'Lo and Rondo. That is Morris and Reggie Jackson for me. I know people love the narrative of playoff Rajon Rondo. Number one, technically not the playoffs. Number two, also, he's been terrible for a very, very long time now. Don't forget, there were games where Garland was out for the Cavs and they didn't even play Rajon Rondo in those spots. So it's hard for me to expect that Rondo is going to play extended minutes here.
Yeah, they did some like Point Chetty. That was fun. Yeah, those slates were fun.
They played Chetty Osman at point guard instead of Rondo when they had no point guards available.
Dusty. And that's all it is. Rajon Rondo. 3 minutes to get your lineups in, everybody. Make sure you have them. Wasn't Zubats on a minute restriction the last few weeks? No, not really. No, he was not one of the Clippers that got named in those minutes restrictions that weren't really restrictions.
Well, he was at one point, but he wasn't playing that many minutes before then either.
Oh, interesting. I don't even remember him being named in that clipping. It was like Batum, Reggie Jackson, and somebody else. It must have been him, I guess.
So here's the stretch of games, but this was before the minutes restriction was announced anyway, March 16th. And I'll just read games on from here for minutes for Zubac: 17, 21, 17, 24, 17, 32, 21, 25, 24, 23. Those are all of his games from the middle of March on. He just hasn't been playing significant minutes, and it's twofold. I guess the minutes restriction could play a part, but the other thing too is Hartenstein's played really well, and it's just been a time split between them.
Where's Jordan Klein? He hasn't been there the entire show. Jordan Klein, come on now. Don't do that. Don't go into hiding. We need you. Jordan.
Nope. Apparently we don't.
Okay.
By the way, no, for anybody playing baseball, Nelson Cruz just got scratched from the Nationals lineup.
What time does that game lock?
Let's see. When does that lock? That's a good point. Do we have to edit this right now, or do we get a little bit of... Okay, that game.
I knew we were going to run into something. Locks, no, we've got 22 minutes. We're going to be done. I'll have 5 minutes to figure out. Let's see. I don't want Miami, LA. Nope, I'm fine. I'll be able to figure out what I want to do later there with it. But it is time to get to lock here in a second. Oh, last man in, quick. Roster music. Oh, there he is. Jordan Klein from the Clouds. Bruce Brown, Laurie, or Love. Pick one, Greg.
Kevin Love.
Kevin Love. All right, there you go. Bruce Brown for me, but we already kind of know that. And he's the chalkiest player on the slate, so I'm not really giving you any info that you shouldn't already know yourself. Is Jordan Klein related to Ethan Klein? I don't know who Ethan Klein is.
No. That's Jordan Klein is related to the guy from Spider-Man because it's him.
Yes. Yeah. He's a millionaire. That's why he lives on his castle out by the beach. It's no big deal.
Wob. He's
with Wob. Oh man. Oh, Wob. Good people. I like the guy personally. I like him personally. Let's see. Screw F it. I got a lot of Rondo. Well, those lineups are dead.
I mean, how much is a lot?
Too much. A lot. 5% would be too much Rondo.
Let's see. What do I have in? Yeah, I didn't get him in lineups. Any amount of Rondo is probably too much.
All right, y'all. Let's talk some prize picks. We are at the prize picks portion of the program. Go to your desktop. Look at that. Jordan Klein. I mean, when he's not making Marvel movies, he is out there crushing the produced game streets. We appreciate him keeping everything on track here on the show for the most part, even though he doesn't want to show his lovely face to us anymore. I'm guessing he's upset, but that's okay.
What is he upset about?
I don't know, because you called his shirt maybe extra, extra large. And then the Spider-Man guy, which he hates that comp, just hates it to no end. He's upset with us. That's why he's hiding.
Think so? Jordan, how upset
absolutely.
are you with us? Oh, it's great. He gives us the silent treatment.
He is so mad. Oh man,
he
the
is
silent
furious. Oh my
treatment.
God.
All right. Well, Prize Picks is a great place to go play. Let's take advantage of that here together as we're talking through it. I'm trusting Kevin Love. That's not a great feeling here, but once again, Prize Picks, we have NBA, we have MLB, we have NHL soccer, PGA, which is just a blast to play. If you guys had an opportunity to check it out for the Masters, you know it's really fun. They have strokes, birdies are better, greens in regulation, whole 5 shots. There's actually been an edge to some of these par 5 scorings that they end up doing, or hole 14 green in regulation. I'm telling you, it's really fun that they're integrating some of this. You can correlate some of those Now, they've reduced some of the payouts on some of them when you do correlate it, just throwing it out there. But for the most part, everything is just your strict. You can play 2, you're going to 3x your money. If you play 3 players, you're going to up to 5x your money. If you play the 4-player parlay, you have an opportunity to 10x your money by getting all 4 right. And as I said, if you play 5, there's a certain payout structure that it has, but you can still make 2x your money on 4 out of 5. That's a really cool feature. Playing across multiple sports, such a clean, super easy site to navigate. Check it out. Greg, using our props tool or using any other data over on oddshopper.com, where you can use expected win percentage to inform your bets, anything stick out to you for tonight's NBA slate over on PrizePicks?
Yeah, well, I did do a PrizePicks video earlier, so I'm just checking to make sure none of the numbers have changed, because during the show, I wasn't looking at PrizePicks to see if any of the numbers had moved. So let's see. Is Vanderbilt over 6.5 rebounds still an option?
Jared Vanderbilt.
I can't get on PrizePicks right now.
All right. 6.5 rebounds is the number. Yes.
All right. So I like the over on that. All the same reasons that we like Jared Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. Over on DraftKings and FanDuel. I mean, we would like him for the same reasons here. 6.5 rebounds for a guy who averaged 8.5 rebounds per game. That's very, very low. It's just not a correct number. And I don't think you have to give him that many minutes to reasonably expect that to continue to be the rebound rate for him. So with that in mind, I'm going over 6.5 rebounds, Vanderbilt.
Want to know my sick play of the day? Because it doesn't feel good. And I don't think I have any shares. Do I? No, I don't. Okay. I'm going to play Isaac Okoro over 14 fantasy points. 14 fantasy points for Isaac Okoro. He is a terrible fantasy point per minute producer, but you get a stock and a steal. You get something to kind of fit into that. He's going to play upper 20s minutes, upwards of 30 minutes here. I just think there's an opportunity for him to be on the floor a lot here. And it's uncomfortable to look at, but it grades out. I have him projected for 17 fantasy points. That's a pretty large margin, 3 fantasy points when he's as low as what he is. He'll be on the floor. Are you with me for this disgusting play?
You said the number was 14 and a half?
14 on the number, 14.
All right, where do I have Isaac Okoro? Isaac Okoro. Yeah, I do like the over on that one, actually. Do I feel great about taking overs on Isaac Okoro fantasy points? No, not particularly, but that is, I think that's cheap enough that it's a playable number.
Yeah, looking at our projections here on Awesemo, I have him for 15 and a half there. So a 1.5 difference. Again, I have him just a 1.5 higher. It's an over, and it feels really disgusting to say that's something that I want to put my hard-earned PrizePicks money on, but here we go. That's just the way that it's going to be. Curious if anybody in chat has any plays here. Once again, we're only going up till the 15-minute mark here of this show before Jordan Klein unveils himself to us, and we can talk to him again and be friends. He's having a day, everybody. Let's give Jordan Klein some love. Smash that like button for Jordan Klein and his hard work. Spam the chat with ducks and clippers, and I don't know what a clipper emoji would be. I don't know what it would be. Obviously, he wants to beat the crap out of my Timberwolves, his team. Brandon Lau, home run. Just another day that ends in Y. I love this man so much.
Oh, he's already homered?
Just homered. Right off the bat.
Oh, that's right. Never mind, because that's a different slate.
Earlier slate. But I'm saying he's just fantastic. I love that guy.
Yeah, I'm fading the Rays this year in general. I've bet them I think they're like plus 250 to miss the playoffs. I have that bet. So anytime they lose to the A's, I'll take it and be happy with it. They're down 3-1 right now. Let's see. What is going on? What?
Huh?
I can't figure out why I can't get on PrizePicks.
It's okay, because their site is down. I was talking about that earlier. Their site's down on the app.
But it looks
desktop,
like
it's not.
No. That's what I'm saying. I can't access it on desktop.
Oh, weird. I can. Why is that? Maybe it's California. We're cool out here.
It could be. I'm getting this really weird error message, and I was just trying to close tabs and see what it is that's impacting. Yeah,
they had sent a tweet out about it. Who was it that just threw out 6.5? Robbie Pierce said Kevin Love over 6.5 rebounds is his favorite. Is that one of your favorites? Because it looks pretty efficient to me, Greg.
No, I do like the over I do like the over 6.5 rebounds for Kevin Love. So earlier in the day, if I remember correctly, I did a PrizePicks video that went up on our YouTube channel. I had Kevin Love over 6.5 rebounds. I had Jared Vanderbilt over 6.5 rebounds. The third one was Evan Mobley under 17 and a half points, I think it was, or 16 and a half. What's the current number, Jordan, for Evan Mobley points?
Evan Mobley, I will pull it up here right now. Evan Mobley is 16 and a half points.
Yeah, so this was the that was one of my unders. Although I think it might have been 17 and a half then. But that aside, okay. I think the Mobley under makes sense, and then I like the overs for Vanderbilt, the over for Kevin Love as well. From a prop perspective, this is one that I'd probably prefer one of those like alternative lines to than just straight up playing the 6.5 on Kevin Love. I do have it projected over, but it's one of those things with Kevin Love where I'm just kind of expecting him to play extra minutes due to the implications of this game. But it wouldn't be stunning to me if Kevin Love just doesn't get the minutes, because we've seen the Cavs do weird things with his playing time all year. I suspect if he goes over 6.5, it's going to be like a 12 rebound game for Kevin Love. So maybe not my most confident play. I think I like the ones we have up here a little bit better. But what do you feel about the Mobley one that I liked?
I like that under, and the other under that I just found is maybe my most uncomfortable one, but it projects out drastically different for me. Patty Mills 8.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. What do you think about the under of 8.5 there?
Boy, that is a low. It's too low.
Yeah, it's because he goes out, makes 2 threes, and then you're basically just sweating anything happening whatsoever. I'm not going to do it, but I was looking at that one pretty prudently here. Once again, Odd Shopper is the best place you can go to shop your lines to be able to help you on sportsbooks, but also has a lot of utility for PrizePicks. We have the PrizePicks builder. We have the opportunity to now go over to the parlay builder on PrizePicks directly. It's a pretty cool new feature that we have for the NBA. If you just click on NBA bets, you can go to the parlay builder. You have the opportunity to put everything together. A really cool feature that we now have there. Looks like that is not active here at the moment, but we have on the main site the NBA prop tool for PrizePicks. Go to Awesemo, go up to the NBA tab, check out. I believe it's underneath. Where is it? Projections/rankings, and then the PrizePicks NBA prop tool. Really awesome utility to be able to use alongside Odd Shopper on PrizePicks. I'm going to add that under here. I'm going to post a 4-player parlay, put 100 on it. We're going to do the retweet. We're going to try to hit one here, Greg. We're going to try to hit that here. Evan Mobley, that was the under on 16.5 points.
By the way, the game has already started. Are the props still available?
No, they're not. Sorry, they just went away. I just tried to play it.
I was just kind of curious for that reason.
Oh yeah,
I was going to say, because that would be a tremendous edge to have if you could just take some of these props as the game already started. Like something happens, like, oh look, Mobley got into foul trouble, we want to fade him, or somebody hits back-to-back threes. Oh look, their 3-pointer prop is only 1.5.
Yeah, I would take the under immediately on anything that had to do with points plus rebounds plus assists if they got off to a slow start. Like fantasy points, you can run into some stocks where they're worth 3 on PrizePicks, but yeah, there's no way that they would have a whole heck of a lot of chance to hit something like, let's see. Well, I guess the lines aren't available there anymore. So yay, guys, it's going to kind of do it here for us then. I thought we were going to have to wait until the 10-minute mark, 15-minute mark. I was given discretion to kind of end it whenever I wanted to. I want everybody to smash that like button, subscribe button as we get out of here for our friend Jordan Klein so that he can continue to make great producing. He can continue to be a great producer and a great actor here in the Marvel series, no doubt about it. But Greg, any final words for the people?
Just everybody show your love and support for the one and only Jordan Klein, who's unique and does not look like any characters in the Marvel universe. We love Jordan very much. Other than that, let's go Seiya Suzuki, future AL Rookie of the Year, 2 homers today. Good luck today, guys. And also enjoy the later basketball game. You got a super chat from Miami Mike.
Oh, bye. We'll see you guys later. Have a great time. Use your lives wisely.